Okay, sitting here with my boy Deepak, and I am now calling him another Austinite because he's officially moving to this area.
It's gotta happen.
I hope it's okay if I say that on there.
It's got to happen.
Okay,
the trajectory is clear. It's pretty inevitable that the move's happening. I'm here all the time. I'm visiting all the time. I'm working here. I love the people.
Yeah.
You're here. My boy Mickey Willis, the crew's here. Might as well get a place here.
So many rad people have moved here recently too. I mean, there's a lot of rad people.
And Mark
here.
Ober and I, we're mutual friends with Mark. You know him.
Yeah,
very
Mark
well.
is here temporarily. Temporarily in air quotes.
He and I were talking last time. We were both staying here temporarily for a very long time.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what happened with, I don't know if you know Mike Cardamone. He has the account called Don't Slap Snooze. I actually interviewed him about urine therapy. It was such an awesome episode.
Love that.
It's also because he's a comedian, so it makes it even better. But he was also coming here temporarily.
They call me Deepac for a reason.
Deepak. Man, you're such a multifaceted, talented dude, and this episode could go so many directions. And I'm pretty stoked for that. Yeah,
let's go spider. Let's go Octopac.
Yeah, Octopac.
Octopac. That's what they call me because I play all the instruments.
You do. I asked you just before, and I've asked you a number of times, and I think you said you play all of them, 20 instruments.
I won't say all. That's
okay, but you could probably pick up instrument you've never played before.
We counted over 20 something one time.
What's something you can't play?
I haven't messed as much with the woodwinds, for example.
Okay,
that's what but I could. I just haven't spent time with them. I feel like and this is not a me thing. I think in general, if we believe we can do anything, first of all, as a premise, I'd say that's a premise that everyone is willing to take on or could take on. Then we just go from there, and then we spend time practicing and figuring out and course correcting, like throwing a free throw. You throw a basketball and it's off, and you adjust. So if I was to pick up a flute, I would do the same thing. I would go, this isn't making sound. I would adjust it until I got sound, and then oh, now I got sound. Let me make the tone better. Let me course correct. Let me keep pivoting. And I think that's my application to learn anything. And I think if we just have that on, I think anyone can learn anything.
Yeah, I think especially with you too, given that you have that muscle memory, at least when it comes to, I know these are not similar instruments in this regard, but they are instruments that you're using your mouth and you're using your hands at the same time. Saxophone, and I've seen you play that.
I played saxophone, yeah.
Yeah, and you're fucking badass on a saxophone.
Saxophone, clarinet, those kind of things. Flute involves a skill of creating this blowing down the right way.
Yeah.
And I just haven't spent time with it, but I've blown into a wooden flute, made some sound. I just have to practice it.
Yeah, and you got some instruments here that are tuned to 432.
432 is beautiful. We can get into frequency for sure.
That'll be epic.
Yeah.
So I think it's appropriate to start with your journey of coming into being an artist, because I know there's also some other threads we'll pull on with respect to health, sovereignty, and things like this. And I think a good starting point is that you were originally going into becoming a doctor. You were pre-med and then pre-law. So let's start there first.
Yeah. So, quick summary, first generation Indian, if you can't tell, and grew up in Maryland. And I think the stereotypical path for a lot of Indians, which we were kind of joking about earlier, is the why is to be either a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer or computer scientist. And there's a ton of Indians that are pretty much all four of those. And we could summarize the reason being coming from another country, a foreign country, a third world country, to be successful, to build security, focusing on the dream. Those are kind of high profile, high prestigious jobs that create security, have good income. So I think it's a good percentage of those. So I was on that typical path of an Indian growing up. But a big part of our Indian culture is the riches, the arts. India is people, the Bollywood, all the colors. That's a big part of our culture is richness. So I grew up with all that. I grew up taught math at a very young age, Sanskrit, the ancient language of Sanskrit, to read and write when I was 4 years old, very young. The Bhagavad Gita, the scriptures. My dad's a Sanskrit scholar. And so I was taught all that stuff, but also my mom was an amazing singer. My dad was a Veena player. And so I was surrounded by the arts, surrounded by the music, but never as an idea of that's going to be your career. It's more just being rich and enriching yourself as a human. It's healthy for the spirit, for the soul, to be enriched in spirituality, in God, in music and all that. So, I was given and gifted with all those things, with the lessons, and spent, the majority of my life doing that and doing all the school programs. And I ended up I grew up in Maryland, in Columbia, Maryland. So I did all the theater and all the orchestra. But I was kind of like the ADD kid who would sit in the orchestra, and after playing the Mozart line one time, which was beautiful, I was also bored and I wanted to create a new line on top of that line. And you're not supposed to do that in orchestra. You're supposed to play what's on the page. Everyone's supposed to play what's on the page. I'm sitting here coming up with new parts. And so I'm getting kicked out of orchestras left and right. I'm just they're like, you can't be in we love you. You play beautifully, but you have to play what's on the page.
You got to
and so
stay
I think,
within this box.
Yeah, you got to stay within the box, and I think both are beautiful. I think I love listening to the orchestra, and if they were making up stuff like I was, it would be chaos. So I think it's good that exists, but I think that's not what I was meant for.
Yep.
And I noticed I was a little bit more of a writer, a little bit more of a creative, and so I was making up songs and doing that my whole middle school, high school, playing video games and trying to play the songs on the video games on the piano, the guitar. A lot of my musical background is in just listening to the things I liked and trying to figure out how to play them. Listen to Michael Jackson, singing Michael Jackson. She was more like a beauty queen from a movie scene. Like just doing these crazy things and trying to mimic like a monkey, like monkey mimicry.
Yeah.
That was a lot of my skill, like learning the skills and how to do that. But the path was, okay, great. You're doing all that. That's fun. It's extracurricular. It's not like your path. You're going to go to school. You're going to be a doctor. You're going to be a lawyer. So I went to school, and I did pre-med and pre-law. But while I was in college, the whole time I was studying neurobiology, physiology, criminology, criminal justice, taking all these classes. I was also singing an a cappella group called the University of Maryland Generics. And that to me was where I got the joy. And I was taking the classes and I was learning things in the brain. It was all like left brain. It was all going great and all that kind of stuff. But then something felt good on the weekends singing in the a cappella group. And so I would do that. I'd perform on the weekends, and it was an amazing experience. And the joy I felt from that felt more fulfilling than what I was taking in the classes and learning about the body, which I loved learning. I'm glad I learned about it. I still have a lot of knowledge in that. But the feeling of going, hey, we're going to perform on this weekend and everyone's going to feel the joy. I'm going to feel the joy. There's this now Tesla spiral of torus field energy of joy being shared, joy being received. Now we got this circular field happening. We're generating a field. I was like, music's a field. And then you start learning about sound and magnetism and going, oh, fields. Everything's a field. And then you start learning spirituality and go, oh, the aura's a field. And you start seeing the parallels of fields. And I was like, you can do this with music. It's almost like being a wizard of love. And I can just go out and like do this and people are going to feel better and they're going to have a healing, joyful experience. And I remember loving Michael Jackson and listening and like that changed my life, and listening to Radiohead and Coldplay. And I knew that I was receiving. I was like, I want to give that. So that's sort of where I shifted from, the path. And I did finish. I finished my neurobiology, physiology. I did my criminology, criminal justice. But after I graduated, I decided to become an artist and came out to Los Angeles.
Do you feel that there was a piece of you at that time that had this like conditioning that comes in, let's say, high achieving families within the normie world, so to speak, of, okay, even though I feel like this is not my path, when I look at society or when I look to my parents, they're telling me that this is the best path to take so you can get a good job and then you can save and then you can retire early, blah, 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 that whole typical paradigm. Was there a piece of you that, despite feeling at odds with that, was sort of being pushed and conditioned to continue doing those things?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was there culturally. I think I was blessed that my parents weren't as military about that. I know a lot of other Indian kids that I grew up with had a little bit more of a strict pressing, like, this is what you have to do. I think I was, and I'm grateful to my parents for that. But I think culturally there was a lot of pressure. And I think the idea of that comes from a good place. It comes from surviving, from some security. But I also realize it comes from scarcity, and scarcity consciousness versus abundance consciousness has been a big theme of my life. Like, am I doing this to survive, or am I doing this to thrive? Am I doing this because I'm in scare city? Scare, the word scare is in the word scarcity. Scare is fear. Or am I doing the abundance, which is I'm just shaking. I'm doing my abundance, which is like I'm in abundance. I'm not in fear. I'm doing this because I'm passionate to do this, because I love to do this, not because I feel like I have to do this to get by. And I think that became a theme of like how I gauge all of my decisions. Is this decision I'm doing right now, and in a given day, that we're all going through both. It's not like now I'm abundance guy, or I think in a moment, like even when you're driving your car, you're making a decision. Am I let me get in the lane early. I want to change lanes early because I might not make it. That's a scarcity choice, but it's also from security. So I don't want to label things as good or bad in this case, because it might be good to be safe and make your exit.
Right.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, am I making this choice in my career because I feel like I need to make rent next month, or am I doing this because I'm going to be able to expand my legacy and purpose to serve the planet, the humanity?
Right.
And those choices are different choices. And if I did this, if that both led me to the same choice, I'll do it, because now it's a win-win. Now I'm going to make my rent and I'm going to serve humanity. But if I'm doing it just to do that, now I'm compromising my integrity. I'm compromising who I am. And so that's kind of the long answer to your question is like, I think little by little, I started getting more military with myself about making sure my decisions were coming from abundance first and trusting and having faith that that would lead to the abundance of the things and the little things and the rent and logistics happening. And I think that started working out. And I think that's been a good gauge of like just feeling and dropping into the body, tuning into intuition, which is like tuning, vibration, and all these kind of things, and getting in tune with our intuition and seeing that as the more we're aligned, we're following a line that's in front of us of infinite possibility. But now we're following a line that's actually leading us like the yellow brick road to the next destined thing on our path. And I started noticing things just started unfolding in a beautiful way by doing that and by not coming from scarcity anymore.
Why do you think you had the wherewithal at that point in time to understand that, okay, despite this conditioning that I'm feeling, I know that this is the path for me? Because a lot of people, because that conditioning is so strong, especially again in the high performing, again in normie context, not that that's a bad thing necessarily, because it can lead you to a good place. I went to West Point, it's led me ultimately to here, which is incredible, right?
Perfect path.
But a lot of people sort of have that feeling arising within them that I'm out of alignment. This isn't in alignment with who I truly am. Whether they name it exactly that is another case. I don't think that's always the case, that they name like this is not in alignment with who I truly am, but they just feel that something is off. But because of that conditioning, they continue down that path. Why do you think you had the wherewithal to understand, no, I can't continue with this?
Good question. And I've still been trying to figure out how I ended up like this. And I think there's I look at different pieces. Like when I was super young, I was an only child. I was kind of rebellious. When I was being told not to do something, I had the inclination to go, why? And I think asking why just kept on leading me to being more connected to something versus just taking things for granted.
Yeah.
I think that's been a core part of my personality that from a young age leads to like questioning things in an older age. Like, so if I had that feeling, just like you were talking about, a lot of people might have that same feeling, but may not listen to it. I think because I was conditioning myself to constantly ask why over and over again, I would ask myself, why do I have this feeling right now? Even in an adult age. And that led me to going, and also feeling it, really listening to that feeling. If you really listen to it and don't bottle it down, the suffering gets louder, and I think that's a good thing. I think we've been conditioned by society. I want to say we, but society is attempting to condition people to just bottle things up, to numb thoughts and emotions. And it's coming through the stimuli, through the media, through medicine, through how we think. Don't cry. Those kind of thoughts. And I think that causes us not to listen, and we start losing our skill to listen to the voices that are so deep inside us. And I think at a young age, when I was told not to stare at the sun, we talk about sun gazing, I was like, well, why? Let me try it then. If they're telling me something's going to go wrong, well, I'm doing it and nothing's going wrong. So imagine now as a young kid being told something's going to go wrong. Then you do it. Nothing goes wrong. I start distrusting society because they told me something's going to go wrong and I'm fine. So now I'm like consistently like, don't go in the cold, you're going to get frostbite. I'm like 7-8 years old at this time, by the way, staring at the sun. 7-8 years old. I'm out in the cold and in the winter and I'm barefoot and in my shorts and my t-shirt rolling around in the snow and everyone's all bundled up because mom and dad told them to. And I'm like sledding in my shorts and t-shirt in Maryland like a weirdo. And everyone's like trying to, and I'm just like, kind of like a little autistic kid, a little bit, like just, we're all a little crazy artists.
Yeah. A little neurodivergent for sure.
Yeah, not using that word, by the way, because there's real autism out there.
Totally. He's very aware of the clear difference between an adult who's still in diapers and all those things versus like
the slang way, just the way you use the word retarded and stuff.
100%.
I like words to be used in their fun way. Like, that's gay.
Whatever.
Like, whatever. Who cares? Like,
exactly.
Because words, it's about the intention.
Exactly.
And my intention is pure and childlike. Yeah. And so as a childlike kid who was a little bit spectrum crazy, playing in the snow and staring at the sun, and now I'm barefoot and doing all this stuff. And all the things I was told, teachers said don't do this, doctors said don't do this, parents said don't do this, all these bad things are going to happen, and they're not happening. In fact, I'm feeling better. That's making me go, something that's being told on a massive level seems like a lot of fear that's the opposite of the experience I'm directly having. You know, you can listen to them and be like, well, science said this and science said this. I would call it scientism said this, scientism said that. But I'm actually having a direct experience right now that contradicts that. Why should I listen to the thing that's theoretical or to the actual real experience I'm having of being fine in the snow in my shorts, or being fine staring at the sun and actually feeling more energy for some odd reason? Like, you know, if I had a headache in the morning or something and I wake up and I stare at the sun, it goes away. And if I breathe a lot of things are better. You know, and it's like things like really got simple, just being kind of like an animal. And you start to think about like, what's an animal do? An animal's very much caught in their intuition, their instinct. That's why they're able to Jedi their way down a mountain, you know, at like 100 miles an hour. Like a deer is just flying through the woods, not hitting it. You know, if their mind was distracting them the way humans are, they'd slam into a tree. But because their mind is moved out of the way, which is sort of the point of meditation, is to get us back to being an animal in a way where we're tuned into like our Jedi superpowers. So that's the kind of stuff when I was a kid I was focused on, is like getting back to being like a wild animal and how badass an animal was. I was just noticing like a monkey swinging from a tree. I'm like, let me do that. You know, and then I noticed like the more I just trusted and did it and didn't let the doubts of the mind come, and it's almost like they're claws. It's like the mind's a claw trying to pull you back. And then if the mind wins, if the claws win, then you might actually fall from the tree. You might actually not be in your mastery in that moment because now the mind caught up with you and pulled you back. But if you can manage to be ahead of that thing while it's trying to pull you, you can be doing perfect motions just like any animal. And I noticed that. I was a tennis player. I was a semi, pro tennis player. I was doing USTA ranked tennis. And I noticed that like when I got out of my mind, I was hitting the best shots ever.
Yeah.
And then you grow up and realize that's what all of spirituality is trying to teach. That's what meditation, or Bruce Lee, don't think, feel. All of these messages that come from every culture, from religion, spirituality, sports, the masteries of every top violinist, musician in the world. When you get to the top of anything, the mastery level is about getting your mind out of the way and tapping into total connection of the body, dropping into the body. And so that's like kind of the long answer to your question about like what's going on now in an older age is like listening to my body. I feel like the suffering when I'm not on my path. And instead of ignoring it, being like, oh, it's all good, I just got to go back to my job. I'm like, no, that hurts. And I want it to hurt. I want it to hurt because that's a signal, just like quote unquote sickness, which I don't believe in. I believe in signals and symptoms being messages. I get the same spiritual message or the mental message that's telling me that's not what you want to be doing with your life right now. Yeah. And instead of ignoring it and being like, well, I guess I just got to go pay my rent. I'm like, no, I'm going to listen to that. I'm going to suffer and I'm going to feel the pain of that. And that's going to move me into a better action if you actually listen to it. And that's what I just started doing at a young age with the sun gazing thing and with the thing. And when I got to college, I wasn't feeling right in my body. I'm doing pre-med and pre-law, but I feel good when I'm singing the song, when I'm talking to people on the interview like this. Yeah, music, rock and roll, baby. I feel good when my guitar slammed on the stage, I just feel good in the moment.
Yeah.
And I think we all feel good in the moment. I think everyone feels good in the moment. Because why? Because we're like a little kid. We're like a little baby. Because little babies are in the moment and they feel really good and they're energized and they're like, wah, blah, blah, and they're like laughing and they're crying and they're doing all kinds of crazy stuff like those little operation dolls. Like,
and they move through emotions like that because they feel them to completion.
Yeah, because it's in and out. Yep. And it's like, if you think of your body like a pressure cooker, when you're putting stuff in, it starts filling up. And then when it wants to get out, you just let it out, right? And as we're conditioned by society, we're bottling in. Well, what happens? It starts filling up the pressure cooker and now it's not releasing. And so we're getting emotional stuff building up. We're getting mental stuff building up. So now our thoughts are building up. And then we're getting spiritual stuff building up. All the stuff, I'm using the word stuff very loosely here. It's building up. And if you're not getting the skills and developing each of the skills needed to release, then that's where disease comes from, actually, is the stuff being stuck inside. And now it starts to rot and starts to like turn into toxins. And it gets in our organs and our fascia, and it gets into all these places where our mind is now caught up, and now we're distracted by the mind, and we're disconnected from the body, and all these kind of things because our signals are now not clear. Our signals are off because now our alignment's off. Our chakras are off. There's a blockage somewhere in like this chakra down here or this chakra down here. The fourth chakra being the throat chakra, the expression, the vibration, which is where I really tap in as a musician, as an artist, as a speaker, I think that the throat chakra of the entire planet right now is suppressed. I think a lot of people are feeling censored or beaten down or shamed to say what they want to say, and they're not opening their voices. And I think we have a planetary chakra blockage in the throat, which is the Vishuddha, the throat chakra, the blue. And I think that's where there's a massive blockage. And I think that's part of my mission now is going, oh, I'm seeing this blockage. Let me do what I can to encourage opening up of that release of the healing, whether it's through like just like getting your voice out, or through just speaking online and not worrying about what other people think. If you need to talk about politics, just get it out. Like all that stuff is just like insecurity buildup, because like that's where all the cancers are coming from. That's where the disease is coming from. It's like everyone's just like literally suppressing stuff because we've been encouraged by society to do so. We've been shamed into doing so, and it's leading to disease. So I think the pressure cooker model is like we can get into that more.
No, that's great.
I want to get into the pressure cooker deep.
And I think ultimately at its root, it's that we're feeling like it is unsafe for us to fully express ourselves as us, who we truly are.
Yeah.
That's it.
Identity.
Yeah.
Which is a whole nother rabbit hole.
We were talking about that yesterday on the phone. Like, oh man, we could talk about that as it pertains to like the truth or identity, and even the subsets within the sort of truth, health, and freedom space, which like it's good because it helps you sort of bridge gaps between people. It helps you find your tribe, so to speak, and be like, oh, you think about that. I also think about that.
Yeah.
Let's set that aside for a second.
Yeah, that gets into attachment, which is also spirituality again, which in Buddhism, attachment creates suffering. So it's like it all loops back to the same thing.
Totally does. It's all comes full circle.
It's all connected.
It is. It's all connected. When you were growing up, were your parents sort of carrying any of the spiritual or religious traditions coming from India?
Yes.
Okay.
Very deeply.
That's okay, because I'm like wondering.
Yes.
Obviously, you sort of talked about. Like, did you learn about sun gazing prior to you just going out and being like, I'm
No, I did it on my own.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I did.
That's cool.
So what I learned when my parents...
Can I share a story real quick?
Yeah, yes.
You already know what I'm about to say.
Okay.
Deepak, myself...
Deepak, by the way.
Sorry.
All good. I like the pack. I like the six pack.
Such a like white Midwesterner guy.
Well, you got to pack
Deepak.
stuff up sometime. You got to pack in all this knowledge into this podcast. Here we go.
Deepak, myself, my son, and my daughter went to a restaurant, like 9 months ago? When was that?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know time. I'm not good with time and space. I'm not the time and space guy.
I've been trying to get this dude to share his age for so long, and he will not.
And by the way, I love to talk about the why around that too. The age thing.
I know. Mostly now, I just do it to mess with you because I think it's funny to see if you'll slip up. But but
there's a spiritual thing around that.
I love
too.
that. No, I totally agree with what you're going to say about that too. I already know what it is, but I would love you to share it for the audience. But I want to share the sun gazing piece.
Okay.
So we go to a restaurant. It's a hot day. I mean, it's Central Texas, so it could be literally any time of the year and be hot. But it's a hot day, no clouds in sight, and it's like noon. So the sun's up in the midpoint in the sky, and like I sun gaze at night and in the morning when the sun's pretty low in the sky. If I try to stare at the sun midday, like I can last maybe 2 seconds, and I'm squinting the whole time. We walk out of the restaurant, and this dude literally stares at the sun directly with his eyes wide like this for like 45 seconds to a minute. And I said that just before we started recording this. He was like, dude, I can do it for like 20 minutes.
Well, I mean, that's the practice.
Yeah.
That's the practice. Sun gazing is a practice where the sun is going into the windows of the divine, into the back of our hypothalamus gland, enhancing it, and then sending signals to the pineal gland, increasing energy, psychic awareness. You're getting vitamin D, and you're getting all these different pieces. And have you heard of the word mudra? It's an Indian word for these little hand shapes that create and move energy. Well, I will say there is an Indian mudra that I learned that is sun gazing related when I was young.
Really?
And it's basically you go like this with your hands, and you put your fingers up here, fingers there, and you put that like that, and it creates a perfect eye hole.
Oh.
See on the camera right there. And you can do that, and then you would do that at high noon into one eye, and you're actually filtering the sun directly into your eyes.
Wow.
And so I learned that when I was very young as a part of a tradition where you get a sacred thread as a Brahmin. Brahmin's like a type of class. It's in India. People heard of the classes, right? The caste system. Our family is from a Brahmin group, which is basically essentially focused on spirituality, focused on God. That's really the summary of what Brahmin's focus is. The Kshatriyas are more about leading and building, and you got your builders. There's different, and it's just basically people, if they want the positive version of the caste system is just basically like different roles that we have in society. Just keeping it simple. So in our Brahmin upbringing, we were focused on spirituality, learning the religion. So that's kind of the question. Like I did learn a lot of beautiful spirituality, religion from my parents. Again, I was mentioning the Bhagavad Gita earlier, which is a sacred text of 18 chapters of beautiful knowledge on philosophy, existentialism, a conversation between Arjuna and Krishna on the battlefield. That was a lot of like deep questions that we as all humans have. Like, what's our purpose? What happens when we die? I need to kill. When do I, like all of these important questions that we go through as a human. And so I grew up, luckily, with that type of upbringing for sure. But in terms of a lot of the wild animal stuff, that wasn't necessarily from my parents. That was just me being an only child and being weird and going out in the woods and just feeling good and just like naturally like feeling good. I think the stuff I was learning was more, I would say, heady. Initially, but we realized that the heady stuff leads to the body.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Right? I feel like it still pulls you into the heart when like you really get the essence of it.
Right, because you start out intellectually learning something, so it comes in intellectually. It's a little bit more left brain, but as you're doing it, it starts feeling right brain. As you start chanting, your body does get numb after a while, or mine does. Like when I chant the Bhagavad Gita, or chant the Gayatri mantra, which is a mantra relating to the sun, the three worlds, the 7 layers of consciousness. Om Bhur Bhuva Suvah Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. If I do that a bunch of times, I start losing my mind. You know what I'm saying? You start out in the mind, but you do it enough times, your mind goes away.
Where do you go? Because like the reason I ask that is like the practice that I'm familiar with is Qigong.
Yes.
And I can feel my essence either go into my Dantian, like down here, like I feel myself here,
belly button,
or into my heart. And like it's because I'm pointing my awareness there and I can literally feel a subtle, not weight, but sensation there where like, oh, that is where my awareness now is.
Yes.
When you do that, where do you go?
I think it's a lot of places because it becomes, where it's like asking where do you go when you meditate?
Yeah.
Right. When you meditate, you could go into nothing for a little bit. You might go into some memories or thoughts or future scenarios. You might come back. And that's the mind aspect. Where does the mind go? Where does the body go? That can vary as well. I think when I do it, my body gets more numb. I think doing it 108 times, and there's a number, a sacred number from India, 108. And there's also the extension of that is 1008. And so once a year, we have a thing called upakarma, which is where we change our sacred thread, we put on the new one, and then we take off the old one, and we shed it off, and we chant that Gayatri mantra, the one I just chanted, 1008 times.
Wow.
It takes about 2.5, 3 hours to do 1008 of those, And so by the time you're about 20 minutes in, you're pretty numb. Because you're sitting in one place. I mean, you're sitting, Indian. You're sitting. I wouldn't call it Indian style because I'm already Indian, so I'm sitting style. And then I make jokes. That's what I do. I'm sitting style. I'm just sitting style.
I mean, you got some style, so
because I'm already Indian. It's like I don't call Indian food. I just call it food. Because Anyway,
that's true. That's true.
Sorry.
I love that.
Self-deprecating Indian jokes are the best.
I love that so much.
But you're sitting in this position, and if anyone who's meditated for a long time knows, there starts to be pain, right? That comes up. Yeah. If I've done Vipassana, which is 10 days of silence, and the hardest part of it's not after a while, it's actually very physical. But that's also part of the spiritual journey is being with that. And if you allow that. Just like, and that's with the training. We always bring it back to like the real world. If we get as a society, we're not trained, we're encouraged to avoid discomfort.
Totally, 100%.
And that's why the reflex is, take the medicine, numb the symptom. Same thing. The reflex is move. Oh my gosh, my leg hurts. Let me straighten my. Oh my god, because it's coming from fear. Like and I know those. I'm watching my fear. Like something's gonna happen. I'm gonna hurt my leg. I'm gonna get paralyzed. These illogical thoughts are coming in. What's gonna happen? You're just sitting. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm going to go so numb that now my feet are going to permanently be numb forever. No, they're not. It's temporary. That's the balance between permanence and impermanence, which is a very spiritual thought. Like, what's the balance between permanence and impermanence? That's the deep questions of Shiva. And, Shiva is standing on one foot, dancing on consciousness in our religion. And I come from a Vaishnava background, which is more focused on Vishnu. But the story of Shiva is the cosmic dance. And he's dancing on the world And he's got one foot up representing the balance of impermanence and permanence. And if we realize that our bodies are impermanent, but the spirit is permanent, that is the actual spiritual enlightenment that we get to, where we step back into the first conversation we had about abundance and scarcity, is we're out of fear now because we know that this thing is temporary. So we don't have fear of dying anymore because it's just a part of the infinite journey of impermanence. And then the permanence part is knowing that your spirit is permanent. And so that's that whole dance. So we get back to that. So, growing up with that spirituality, growing up with that background, I think helped guide the way I think.
Yeah.
From, again, starting out not knowing why. You're not, as a kid, your parents aren't like, this is why you're doing this. You're like, just chant this.
Yeah.
Just do it. I'm like, cool. But it's amazing that language, Sanskrit, has this encoded thing that when you're doing it over and over again, you're getting not told why you're doing it. You're discovering it actually yourself from the inside.
The direct experience. That's what I was thinking this whole time.
And I think that's the best way we learn is when, someone could tell me a million times something about the answer. But when I discover it myself, then I feel it.
It's almost better that your parents were like, do this rather than do this because X, Y, and Z. Just do this.
And then, I may not have discovered the why till I was 20, for example. Yeah. I might have been literally that old. I think, 17. I remember in middle school being like, I don't want to do this anymore, and rebelling and getting mad at my dad and all, and doing that. And my dad was very patient. I look back going, wow, what an amazing father, what an amazing mother, that they just allowed me to go through my child journey, didn't interfere with it, and that journey included rebellion, and including doubting, including questioning my lineage and my parents and what they're doing and why. That's part of the journey, so that I could discover the amazing thing later and then really love them that much more and appreciate them later.
I love that, man. I want to get into your journey as an artist, like becoming an artist, especially, but I actually want to put a pause on it because you just pulled on a thread that I think is really interesting to talk about.
We dance, baby. We dance.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd really love to hear your thoughts on this. So you talked about how, and I'm going to sort of paraphrase, that these practices, as this pain comes up in your body, if you literally just sit and be with the pain, you get to an eventual point where you realize, oh, that pain is not me, and this body is not me. This is not who I truly am. Now, when taken to the ultimate position on that, you might wind up becoming like a monk or someone who sits in a cave and meditates forever. And there are, I think that the earth needs that needs those nodal points of people who that's their path. That's what they do. They're not immersed in society because they're acting as a very strong, coherent field. Now, I would say for me, that doesn't feel like my path. And for some people, that might look attractive really because they're using that as an escape to disconnect from society. So what I'm getting at is, how do we take the knowing that we glean from experiences like that, oh, I am not the body, and turn it into a more full and complete life here in the body, like talking about that difference between permanence and impermanence. Like it's right. It's a paradox, duality, non-duality. Like, yes, fundamentally, I think this realm is a realm of non-duality. There is only one thing here.
Yes.
But this illusion of separation is here. It's very apparent and it's purposeful. I think we're supposed to experience it.
Yes.
What I'm getting at is, how do we live a more complete life here in this illusion of separation while fully recognizing that you and me are very different flavors of the one thing, without using that sort of understanding as an excuse to escape the body and bypass and just, oh, everything's all love and light. You see what I'm getting at here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's where like listening comes back into it. It's like, everyone, we all are coming from the oneness, but now we're split into infinitely different, unique pieces, individual pieces. You're here, you're on the show, you went to West Point, you did the thing that led you to here, right? Because regardless of all of it coming from one, it still appeared in infinitely different locations with thus different paths, which led to it. And so I think the deeper question, I would say for everybody, including myself, would be back to the same thing, abundance and scarcity. Am I doing this thing to escape, which would be scarcity? Am I doing this thing because it feels like alignment and it aligned with purpose? And that's where it's like really trusting and listening to that deeper place. And we get into the thing like a calling, like it's a calling, and everyone has a different calling. And that's where we get into micro versus macro, myopia, or like a smaller pocket. Like my calling, if my calling was like, oh, I just feel really called to go toil the field. and go farm in the field, which, by the way, I do feel called to do that also as a part of my macro. But then I want to share about it to the world, which is the macro part. So I want to do the micro, I want to experience it, but then a calling in me, something is in me that feels like I just want to yell this out to the whole world. If you have that calling, then do that. But some people are like, don't have that calling. And that's something you just got to listen to for yourself. Like if you feel like you want to get the message to the world, you and I are aligned. We're looking to reach the world, which is why we're on a podcast and we're on stages and doing things. But someone else, that might not be what they really feel like is their calling. And so they might, like you mentioned the monk example, a true monk example, not an escaping monk, but a monk that's like, I think my calling is to go inside and sit inside. And when I'm in space, which is the ether, I'm getting a whole ether conversation, by the way.
Yes.
Ether all day. But when we're in the ether, the etheric realm, which is the space between the space, which is literally everything but this small little piece of matter that we happen to believe is real because we consciously manifested it through our belief in something solid.
Now you're talking my language.
Yeah. Knowing that it's not actually solid, that if you zoom in with the electron microscope, apparently over and over again, all you find is more space. Side conversation. The conversation.
Yeah.
But like the monk is going into the space. When you meditate, you're going into the ether. And if that's the calling, they might be able to move some mountains in there.
Yeah.
From the woods.
Yep.
That may not be aware are happening, but they might be doing some crazy moves. They might be actually part of holding the field together that we're sitting in.
A real world example of that, just real quick, keep that train of thought. The Kogi people from Colombia, that's literally what they do. They like keep the energetic alignment barriers, the thread that they lay in Colombia. Yeah. And we have no, I believe what they're doing, but I have no concept of exactly what is going on with them. But I guarantee you, I'm willing to bet large amounts of money it plays an important role in keeping the energetic structure of this realm intact.
I believe so. I believe there's like indigenous energies around the world that are praying together in ceremony. And there's a whole thing around critical mass and strength in numbers. And, there's a scientific study that shows 100 people meditating, 1,000 people meditating, 10,000 people meditating, actually creating a ripple effect on the environment, like lower crime.
So I spoke about this at Confluence. It's so funny you bring this up.
Nice.
So perfect. So synchronistic. And of course, right?
Yeah.
Because the reason I brought this up is I was at Confluence or at Music and Sky. Like you've been to Confluence and Music and Sky. So like the field effect that is created there is palpable, where you're really beginning to remember who you are, which is something you can't name, something that the moment you name it, it's not it. It's something deep within you that you feel, right?
Which I want to get into, by the way.
I would love to. Yes, dude, that's like my favorite thing to talk about. So I love that so much.
We'll focus on the spirit inside the vessel, which relates to commerce and sovereignty. It's all related.
Yes, it is. Oh my gosh, it's all related. And I think in an experience like that, you start to remember how truly powerful we are as individuals, but more importantly, when we come together as individuals oriented towards the same thing. Like I really think, same intention.
Aligned.
Focusing our thought energy on one thing together, like that creates ripple effects through the ether that I don't think we can truly understand how important and powerful we can be in those instances. And here's some examples of that.
Right.
So it's colloquially known as the Maharishi effect. I'm sure you know that, and many people listening or watching. The few studies I'm about to read off relate to exactly what Deepak was saying. So in the summer of 1993, 4,000 individuals gathered in Washington, D.C. to meditate daily for nearly 2 months. Their purpose was to test whether focused collective intention could measurably reduce violent crime in the city. By the end of the trial, violent crime had dropped by 23% compared to projected rates, despite seasonal trends suggesting it should have increased. The effects scaled with the size of the meditation group, and statistical analysis ruled out all major external variables like weather, policing, and historical trends. This is the part that's incredible, especially if you understand like p-values and their significance as it pertains to strong correlations with things. Of course, like I will never say that there is clear, direct, empirical evidence of a cause and effect claim as it relates to something like this. And it's ultimately something that's non-physical. So you can't, it's a category area to try to even measure it anyway.
All we can do is our best to limit variables.
Right.
And then from there go, okay, this comparison versus this one, when the only difference is the meditating, for
Exactly.
example.
Yeah.
And if that's isolated, then at least we have a p-value on a line that shows standard deviation being closer to being directly by this, but without stating it as official cause.
I can tell you were pretty good at math.
I don't know anything about anything.
Yes. And so for the context for people listening or watching, a p-value of 0.05 or less indicates a very strong statistical significance.
It's almost linear.
Yes. But this is how what the p-value was on this. The result wasn't just significant, it was astronomical. The p-value came in at less than 0.00000002, indicating odds of chance were near zero.
That's basically cause.
Yes. It's hard for me to say that knowing what I know about virology and what they claim. Yeah, basically, that's fair. You gave the qualifying statement, basically. I know you know that too. But the point is, it's like, man, it's pretty freaking clear.
It's the power of meditation.
The power of, the power of meditation.
But a large amount of it.
Yes, a large amount of it in focused intention.
Getting back to critical mass.
Yeah, critical mass and being devoted to your values, whatever that is. And in this case, it's these people wanting to be devoted to lowering crime in a specific area. Yeah, which is an incredible thing.
Have you heard of the Art of Living Foundation, Sri Sri Ravi Shankar?
I've not.
Yeah, so that's like one of the biggest, I think it's the biggest non-volunteer run NGO in the world, led by Sri Sri Ravi Shankar. And I've been a part of that for 20-something years, where we meditate. And we've had mass meditations of 3 million people.
Wow.
Like 3 million. I was there in India in 2006 on stage, on a 3-acre stage. It was at the time the biggest stage in world history.
Yeah, 3-acre stage? What the?
Guinness Book of World History. The stage was 3 acres. We were in an airfield near Bangalore in Jaipur, India. 3 million people gathered. You can look it up online. Look up Silver Jubilee, Art of Living. And you can look at videos. And we literally did mass meditations of people breathing in sync, doing Pastrika in sync. It's
so cool.
It sounded like thunder. Whoa. The breathing of that many people sounded like... But imagine like a thunderous roar of humans. And I had dreams for 6 months to a year that were so lucid after that experience of being in a mass meditation for 3 days, of breathing, synchronized breathing, pranayam, pastrika, and then kriya, which is a type of breathing, and then the actual meditation with the intention of world peace. And literally, I felt clearest dreams of my life for 6 months to a year. And it was literally 3 million people. And like, I can't explain that other than that there's something else going on. Like, we're tapping into the ether right there. And again, we get into p-values, but we're talking, this is for world peace, which gets back to what we're talking about the monk in the woods or the indigenous cultures over there, like the why, like the calling. If I bring it back to the calling conversation we're talking about, everyone's got a different calling. You know, if your calling is to get into politics, you'll know. Because you feel like if you're ranting online all the time and yelling about something or the other, then let's see if we can turn that into something productive. If I'm, and you turn that into action, that becomes your calling. You're obsessed with it. You're researching. You're looking into it. You're studying Austrian economics and Rothbard and Mises Institute and getting into these things. If that's what you're doing, you might want to listen to yourself and go, I'm interested in something. Let me see how I can now be of service and take this knowledge and put it into the world. If I'm constantly going, I just wish people, and this is where you're listening to yourself. What are the thoughts that you're having? Everyone's having different thoughts. What are the thoughts I'm having? I just wish people would fight less. I wish people would communicate better. And then maybe the calling is to help improve communication. That's your calling. And like, I feel called to that personally. I feel like a little bit of everything for me.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I want to get the word out politically to help the communication in the political world and then get people to meditate to get to a place of peace.
Yeah.
Those are the things I'm doing. I feel like I meditate because it helps me get grounded. And when I'm more grounded, I make better choices. I'm more efficient. And so I realize that I'm going to be a better person in society if I ground myself first, if I get out of my own way first, if I get my mind cleared and get my doubts sifted, which is the clouds of the mind. And if you breathe and meditate, the clouds start to dissipate and the sun comes through, which is inside of us. And you get a clearing. And really the only thing in the way is our own mind, which is very cloudy. And if we do the work in order to clear it, which is breathing and meditation or landmark education or these different types of ways of hitting all of the aspects of clearing the cobwebs or the clouds, the light within gets to shine back out and our intuition wins. And now instead of having infinite choices of confusion, what do I do? What do I do? It becomes pretty clear.
It's clear.
The one choice starts to start happening over and over again.
Yeah.
And so, and that's kind of like the really deep answer to that. Like, what do we then do if we, like everyone's gonna do something different. Like, if I'm feeling like helping improve communication is being a bridge between one side and another side, and that helping inspire curiosity could be a possible way to help humanity, then I'm going to talk about that on these podcasts and in my shows. I'm going to say, hey, let's get back to curiosity. Let's get back to discovery. Let's move away from assumptions and presumptions and conclusions and absolutism and certainty and all these things that lock us into boxes where we think we know who someone is. And this guy's controlled opposition and this is a psyop. And we're just saying these things, which may or may not be true, but we're not coming from curiosity. Yeah. And I think the thing that brought us here into discovering truth and getting into these rabbit holes was curiosity, but we got to keep the curiosity once we get there because we're not actually ever there. Yeah. We still are always staying curious. It's not like, oh, now I figured out the truth and now we know that we're the ones that are right and they're the ones that are wrong. Well, then you're doing it again.
Totally.
You're doing it again.
Totally, man.
And now we have all these divisions and infighting and all this and that, and we're like, we're judging someone else because we're judging their intentions based on they did something that we've now gotten to this discovery. Let's say we talk about the virology conversation. Yep. We've done these things, and now I have a personal direct experience, and you have a personal direct experience of talking to scientists, of seeing the science that other people don't have. And so we take for granted that we have it, and now we look at someone else, like someone we know in our community that's also in the freedom community, but they're talking about it in the old way. Mm-hmm. And now we're looking at them like, suddenly judging them as if they're intentionally controlled opposition, but they're on the journey. We were there too.
100%.
Like,
and there's such a distinct difference between someone who simply just has not looked at it, of which we share a few friends who admit, like, yeah, I just have not looked at it at this point. Yeah. And like for example, and I'll name him, Mickey being one of them. Like, a lot of people assume that he's automatically controlled opposition. My experience of Mickey when I see him in person is he's a good dude, and he just has not, I think you would admit this, made the time to look into this issue, but he is curious. He's called me a number of times like, hey, so I'm interviewing these families who are dealing with this so-called measles outbreak, and what's your take on it from a no virus perspective? Like, how would this make sense? And like, I explain the whole thing to him. He's like, huh, it's interesting. I haven't thought of it like that. Okay, thank you so much. And then
because he is curious.
He's very curious, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
And he's producing like 50 movies at the same time and doing a bunch of stuff. And like, you got to understand, we're all focused on the thing that is applying to what we're doing right now. And so if you're focusing mainly on no virus and he's not, then it might take a little longer for that message to get in there. Same thing. I'm friends with Del Bigtree. I'm friends with all of them. And I'm close with James O'Keefe and everybody else that everyone's judging as this. And the reason I went to become friends with them was to figure out really what's going on. Because I'm hearing things from people I know. They're calling them these things and naming them, but do they really know? Well, I went and found out, and from my personal experience so far, that I don't think they're controlled opposition or any of these things. I think they're just like we are, focusing on the thing that they're the most passionate about. Yeah. And it might not be the thing that I'm passionate about. And just because they're speaking in this other language doesn't mean that they're intentionally doing something misleading. They're just speaking in the language that's still the known language. And on the word virus, what does virus mean?
Poison.
Means poison.
Yeah. That's what it originally meant. They would say it's an obligate intracellular parasite consisting of a proteinaceous coat surrounding a core of genetic material.
Exactly, which is a modern revamp, but it just means poison in Latin, and it also involves snake venom. Yep. Right? So if we get into that, then we can say viruses are real again. We just say it from the perspective of, from the original core definition, poisons are real, therefore viruses are real. Then we can at least not get caught up in, well, they said the word virus, right. Therefore they're controlled opposition. No, well, maybe they actually, Mickey knows it means poison at this point. So he's not using it from there, he's actually using it from closer to what we would say now, from the no virus perspective.
On that note, on the flip side of that, and that's what I was going to say, there's a distinct difference between people who just admittedly have not fully explored this paradigm yet, and which is fine. Like that's there's nothing wrong with that, because again, we were there too. On the flip side, I'll just speak for myself. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt until they show me who they are. And I'm not going to name names here, but there was an instance where I know someone came to one of my presentations and then was also in a couple of email chains being shown details on the Perth group as it pertains to HIV/AIDS, like showing how far back the whole no virus position goes. And then they go on another podcast after being exposed to all this information, the truth about the no virus position, and have the nerve to say, oh, the no virus position is some fringe thing that started with this guy in Canada recently. It's not anything to be taken seriously. Right. And when someone does that, that's when I'm like, okay, that's...
No, because now it's not an assumption of intention. Now we're seeing the action.
We're seeing the action. Exactly.
That's all I'm getting at.
Yeah,
that's
no,
all I'm
totally agree with you, man.
I'm not saying now, once you've seen something that's a clear thing, then now we can come in with our judgments and our things.
Well, and even like for me, I guess the old me would have doubled down on like trying to expose that person, but I'm like, oh, okay, now I just know for me, that's not someone that I want to relate to or interact with. I'm going to continue doing my thing.
Right.
And, like,
and I still might have curiosity about why they did that too.
Right. And it could have been like a human
but
ego
it might be
thing.
from afar.
Yeah, exactly.
And it might be maybe it's their insecurities. Maybe they're trying to fit in. Maybe
That's
they're
my
trying
point.
to people please. I mean, I'm saying there's
Exactly.
still, it doesn't mean I have to work with them.
Totally.
I still might feel betrayed, but
Yeah.
I can still have compassion.
Yes.
That's all I'm getting at.
100%.
But I may
dude.
not want to work. I might want to keep them over there.
Yes.
Because I'm like, I might have compassion for them doing this thing, but it's also maybe they're doing an evil thing. I'm like,
Totally.
in another example, I have compassion for people that are doing bad things in this world. I don't want them near my kids when I have them. I don't want
Same.
like the rapist and the pedophile near my people. And I definitely would like to hold them accountable. And I have compassion for whatever pain they have to go through to do such a hurtful thing and to cause harm. I'm going to have compassion from afar and get away from me. And if you come near me, I'm going to do something.
Right.
I will
Perfect
protect
balance.
myself. And if that means I have to kill, then I will. Last resort.
Yes.
Ahimsa, nonviolence, is first principle. Doesn't mean we just sit there,
Right.
when our kid's being attacked.
We're not pacifists.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
the same
just
way I
about
look at it.
knowing, again, who you are.
Yeah,
It comes
knowing
back
who you are,
down
man.
to like the spirit
Yeah.
inside of the body that is not us. We have a body. We have a mind. The reason we use the word have is it's possession. It's a thing that whatever I am has a mind. My thoughts. We say the word my. We qualify it with the word my for a reason, meaning that we aren't the
Who
body.
is the my? Who is the
Who
your
is
when
the
you
my?
say your body? Yeah,
Right.
Who is
that?
the...
And that's the deep question.
Yeah.
And then we get in. That gets right into the sovereignty conversation of like, are you the person that's in the Uniform Commercial Code, an individual or LLC or a trust or a corporation or any of these public fictions? Like, no, I am identifying as that corporate fiction. I am here as Deepak
I'm acting as
Ramapriyan.
the agent of, or like...
I am here as Deepak Ramapriyan, third-party interest intervener, here to settle all claims and damages for collaterals for the defendant, public fiction, Deepak Ramapriyan. I mean, you get into that, but then you realize the I, again, is the spirit that is moving this pawn piece of a corporate fiction around, which is a social security or a birth certificate, which is birthed at the doctor, which is also a boat birthing at a dock, which is then going from maritime law of the sea to common law of the land. And it's birthing out of the womb, which is the water sea. So we're coming out of the sea, we're birthing into the dock. But who is the I? It's the spirit now carried inside of a body vessel that now has a mind, which now got a certificate of live birth, which then was given a corporate fiction 9-digit number of a person with a social security number, and then all those kind of things. And if you realize once you start knowing who you are, that then you're not a victim to the thing.
And
you're
not
an empowered being, a spirit empowered being driving the ship. And you're navigating the ship, not just steering the ship. I love this analogy because everyone's like, well, what do I do? If I'm thinking about my future, then I'm not in the moment. Yes, you are. If you are recognizing that macro is guiding the moment. That's all macro does. So you can be in the ocean, and if you're in the middle of the ocean, you're just steering the ship, and you're steering, and you don't know where you're going, you're just steering. You're always steering regardless. We're always steering our lives regardless. But if you zoom out for a second, you might navigate your ship. And now your moment has a purpose. That's what zooming out's about. That's what meditating's about. It's like finding your purpose is zooming out into the macro every once in a while. And that gives you guidance to what you're going to do. And then you're back in the moment, still in the moment, not distracted by the past or the future, not caught up in the fear or the regret. And you're in your present moment navigating now your ship towards a divine calling, getting back to the calling once again. Because then I'm going, oh, I would love to create an impact like the mass meditation. I would love to create more peace. I would love to create better communication. I would love to bridge the divide. Those are macro level thoughts. So how do I do that now? Oh, let me have a conversation with Alec on the podcast that's going to get to millions of people about this. Or let me get on stage and say this one line about, hey, everybody, let's all love each other. I mean, like, let's sing a song, Together We Rise, which I'll do for you on here for sure. Let's write a song about unity, because that could have a ripple impact on a macro level. But where did I write it? In the moment. In the moment is where the action happened that navigated towards the bigger picture. So that's the difference between navigating and steering, which I
I
love.
love that. Wow. What a really important distinction. That's super helpful.
Yeah, because you could be in the middle of the ocean steering, and you could just be steering all day. I'm in the moment, and you could just be going around in circles. And like you're like trying to get there, but you didn't take the moment to navigate because you're like, oh, if I think about the future, I'm gonna be stressed. Like no, because we have that spiritual distinction. Yes, being caught up and stuck in the future and stuck in the past are different than thinking about them, reflecting on those. If you reflect on those for the purpose of being in the moment, now you're guiding your moment better, and then you can still be in the moment, still be peaceful, still like do your mastery in the best way. Because at the end of the day, back to the tennis analogy, the goal is to win the match. Mm-hmm. But if you're thinking about winning the match, you're not going to win the match.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
That's the loop. Is there a goal to win the match? Yes. Does thinking about that while you're playing the point help you win the point? No. You need to play the best point ever. But now when you take a break and you sit down between sets, you go, uh-oh, looks like I'm down 2 sets. I need to strategize now the next moment such that I gain the score. And I like sports analogies because they're just something you can kind of like sink your teeth into.
I love them too, man. Especially they apply to my life.
Yeah, you can sink your teeth right into sports analogies, which are spiritual analogies and music analogies, and they're all the same.
That's why I love Kobe so much, because Kobe was such like he was very into Zen Buddhism. I know, R.I.P. to Kobe.
Larry David, baby. He brought that Zen Buddhism to the Bulls, and he brought it to the Lakers.
Yeah, man. So for me, this is a whole other side, but Kobe is the greatest of all time, and I have reasons for that, rather than Michael Jordan. Yeah, most people say Michael Jordan or LeBron. I say Kobe, but
nice.
I have other reasons for that. But what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. I think what you're talking about with respect to sovereignty and the sort of common law, commercial law, equity law sort of movements that are rising up right now that I've definitely dabbled in, and more than dabbled in at this point.
Hashtag me too.
Yeah, I know you have.
Movement.
Is what's missing in those conversations, though, is exactly what you're talking about, because a lot of people are rushing to do the paperwork or the processes, or not only that, are doing them from a position of tremendous fear or a position of trying to fight against the system.
Survival, get rich quick, scarcity.
100%.
Which we talk about the ether, energy. That's actually changing the energy of their processes, and they're having backfires and they're having legal problems. And the people doing the exact same paperwork that are actually doing it from being the king or the sovereign are actually having success
from knowing who they are. That's what you said, and that's such a big thing that keeps popping up in my life. If you're coming from the position of all those things that are not you that we just named, rather than from the position of knowing who you truly are, I don't think you'll have as much success as if you had done those same things, just as you said, from knowing who you truly are. And that's like a big missing component in the sovereignty space, is you have to know who you are first. And actually that matters far more.
That's one. That's number one. That's 99%, in fact.
That is
in fact, I got to the point. Now, I was doing a lot of this sovereignty paperwork stuff starting in 2003.
Yeah.
And that's when we got, and it was like, there was Winston Shrout, and there was Gordon Hall, and there was Brandon Adams. And then there was a few of us kind of young bucks coming up in the scene that were just the people you were describing me earlier. You're asking me the question, like, how did I get into this? And I was making the joke that I was just in college, just staring at the dollar bill on psychedelics, and just wondering what is going.
Because the question that I asked, I was like, hey, did you, I knew you were pre-law, so did you get into this whole sovereignty stuff? Because I know you're into it a little bit from the pre-law side, and you're like, yeah, kind of. And you're like,
no,
not really.
It was actually from just being like questioning everything.
Yeah, questioning everything.
Questioning, like as a kid, questioning the sun gazing thing, and then blah, 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 led to questioning authority, which led to in school questioning everything they were even teaching. I questioned economics because they were teaching me Keynesian economics. And as a math guy, my intuition was telling me something's wrong with Keynesian economics. This isn't adding up. And I was like, wait a second. They're teaching me something that if you actually play out the math, which I watched everyone in the class was just not questioning anything. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. This is something that's like immediate gratification and then designed to create debt later. And then I'm like, oh, that's the economics behind welfare, Social Security, credit cards, central banking is literally Keynesian economics. And then I was like, so I started asking those questions and like, what's the better economics? And then I discovered free market economics and supply side. And then I discovered the history and I started this is the question. It's all rabbit holes upon rabbit holes.
Are you more of like an Austrian economist?
Yeah.
To put it,
So I get into Austrian, I got into Mises and Rothbard and, the Ron Paul school.
I figured you were because I knew you were voluntarian.
Right. Voluntarism. And then, which is like, get into, Lysander Spooner and like all these great philosophers that I was, learning about. So that's what led me down the rabbit hole in addition to staring at the dollar. I always make the joke because I was just tripping, staring at the dollar bill. And it's like all these things and the pyramid and the eye. And I'm like, I just want to know what it meant.
Yeah.
And you ask the question what it means and you just keep asking why. And if you're just curious, if you're curious and ask why, you'll find out cool things. And you just dig down a thing and you find out about that and the typical path of Zeitgeist and the Freemasons and the thing. And then you laugh at yourself later looking back because you're like, I figured it out. And then you go back and you realize that was just like a little baby. It's all kindergarten.
Yes.
And that led to like a lot of the sovereignty stuff because it led to like, oh, wait a second. There's this crazy thing, admiralty law, maritime, common law, and birth certificate. And like these rabbit holes of the social security card and looking at the back of and seeing the red numbers. And it's like, what? And I was asking why again. It's like literally so simple. Asking why. Why are those numbers on there? And you start out and it's like, oh, a bond. What's a bond? And you type it in. What's a bond? What's a promissory note? And then I discovered the UCC, the Uniform Commercial Code, in like 2007. And then I started reading it, and I was like, what is this? And I asked the definition, and I think it's the definition of a person. And I think I was covering it like 10 minutes ago on here.
You did.
A person. I always thought a person like I'm a person. And I'm like, what? A person is this, this, and this. And if you think about this, when you're driving down the road in a carpool lane, it says 2 or more persons. And I'm like, oh, a person is an individual, a trust, a corporation, LLC, meaning I can ride in the carpool lane knowing that I've got an LLC in my car for my company. I got 2 or more persons in my car. So I started doing that. So
That's a good argument.
I was doing the
angle.
craziest stuff because I was just like playing with language.
Yeah.
And I was breaking down words. And I had a couple friends, my buddy Zach, shout out, Starscript. He and I were studying this stuff together and breaking down words. And it always came down to asking a question. As long as you're asking a question, you're good. Well, what happens if you break down even those words? What's asking break down into?
What does it break down
as into? King.
Especially within the context of the law space, because it's all about asking questions and never giving direct answers.
Then you know who you are.
Yeah.
You're the sovereign. You're the king when you're as king.
Which is also interesting because that relates to the neti principle too.
Yeah.
That's
100%.
wild.
And then what's the word question break down into? Quest, I on. So you're on a quest. You're on an adventure. When you're asking a question, you're now in curiosity. You're on a quest. As king, a quest I on. My boy Zach, like he gets full credit for this, for breaking these words down. And then like we're noticing now we're sending out notices. I'm noticing someone. And as a singer, I'm like, that's the note I sing. You know what I mean? And some of it, maybe it's intentional, maybe it's not.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just the universe. Maybe we're just being kids, but that's part of it is being kids. It's like, let's get into it. Let's play. Like we're playing here. I'm asking a question. I'm going into court. And I remember doing this. I was doing court procedure now, 2009. I'm in court playing. I'm just playing. I'm like, let me play around with these processes. But I was doing it from the place of knowing that I am, as king, a question, and I'm going to be placing the burden of proof on the other party, which is when you get into law, that's what the questioning does. When you make a statement versus asking a question, right? Yep. And this is like kind of basic common law stuff. A lot of people are learning this stuff now about sovereignty. It's just basically learning language. It's learning contract law and knowing that the last thing is what wins. Contracts are dynamic. And then we read all his jurisprudence and went through I had the Black's Law Dictionary and Matthew 5 open with Title 26 and all these stuffs all over my desk. And we were just sitting here decoding 2007, 2010, 3 years straight. I was just staring and decoding and flipping pages and with my friends, and we were just doing this crazy stuff, trying to figure out what was going on. That was our game. And then we started sending paperwork out, and we started doing the OIDs with the IRS, and people were starting to get deposits in their accounts. And then we started like setting off, doing accepted for value statements and setting off credit cards and things were disappearing. And I was going to court. My game was a lot around driving because I love traveling versus driving, right?
I love the loophole that you brought up that is hilarious, that is such a small one, but it's a big win.
Oh,
that
persons?
the persons with the carpool lane.
No, because
like that's thing.
I was more obsessed with, like, everyone had their thing, just like even in every realm, people focus on different things.
Yeah.
Some people are focusing on IRS more.
Yeah.
Some people focus on like how to get their house from the bank, right?
Yep.
I was just like, I'm someone who just loves just getting in my car and zipping around. And that was what I was passionate about, because I want to just zip around how I want to zip around. And I don't want them to tell me how to zip around. And I'm like the rebel. So like I focused a lot on that aspect of statutes. And so like, so everyone in our group was focusing on different things. And my boy was hitting IRS, another friend was hitting mortgages and titles and offsetting debt. I was the driving guy, the traveling versus driving guy. That was like what I would talk about. And I would get pulled over and I would play around and they would ask for my identification. May I see your identification? I'd be like, may I see your identification, officer? I was like doing all that. I said license registration, and like, for the record, are you refusing to identify yourself, officer? But I would, you do it in a very loving and non-confrontational way. And be like, well, what are you, a federal agent or something? And I'd be like, well, what do you think, officer? And it's like, well, slow down, have a nice day. And there was occurrences I had where because of knowing who I was, there was a beingness happening in my field where they felt my confidence, weren't threatened by me. That's a key factor.
Yep.
You know who you are. You're coming off still humble. Is the king. The king's got to be humble. If you're the king, you notice these are the public servants. They're there in service, just like I'm there in service, where let's serve each other. Now it's not confrontational because you already know who you are and you also know who they are. I knew who they were. They're public servants. They know a limited amount of information, just like a lawyer passes the bar and now they're limited by the bar.
Yes.
Right? A police officer has their bond, a blanket bond that's given by the county or the state or whatever. And they're limited by their knowledge, and they were told only this, and this is when I was doing the doctor thing. I was limited by the med school thing, and they weren't taught about nutrition when I was going through school doing medicine. I wasn't taught about nutrition, and the doctors, they're all limited. Once you start knowing who everybody is, you can be more compassionate and be like, oh, the doctor's trying to kill me. Well, I don't know if the doctor's trying to kill you,
right?
But they
100%.
are certainly killing people.
Yep.
Just they not the intentional. Just like the cop is not intentionally trying to extort you, but the system is using them as pawns to extort you.
I apply it to the military. Like I
Right.
being an former Army officer, it's like the overwhelming majority of people that enter the military are doing it for what they think are noble causes,
Right.
but ultimately they're doing something that is fundamentally harmful, but they still have that noble cause. So I can't blame them.
Right.
But once you know better, then it's on you to do
and then
better.
you still do it.
And you still
Right.
do it. That's when
That's what we talked about earlier
Yep.
with once you know. And
Yep.
it's the same thing. I would say the majority of these people, whether they're doctors or scientists or officers, they only know limited amounts of information.
Yep.
And that's the question, is like it came up during COVID, is like when a doctor was shown, did they still then continue, or did they like stand up to the system?
Right.
And I know a lot of good doctors that stepped up to the system and lost their medical licenses,
Yep.
but I respect them because once they knew, they couldn't continue anymore. And that's the difference. And a lot of them did know, and they stayed in there and they stayed quiet.
Yep.
The same thing. So it's the same thing with the police officers. Like, I am coming from a place of knowing that they're doing what they think is their job.
Yep.
To serve a statist agenda, which I do not believe in. I'm like not the statism guy, and I'm but I am aware of where we are, so I'm not going to walk around, well, everyone, because not everyone studied what we study. Not everyone believes, and even if they did, they may not still believe the same thing.
Exactly.
They just may not align. They'd be like, I kind of like the statism thing. I'm like, great. Well, that's what volunteerism is about. You can volunteer over there, and I'm going to volunteer over here. As long as you don't infringe on my rights, and as long as you don't harm me, then we're good. Do no harm.
That's a beautiful irony of the voluntarist position, is that it's like you still have to hold the space for people who want to be in a statist ideology. And then that's where like I've come to the nuanced perspective as a voluntarist, where I'm like, you know what? The government serves a great purpose for those who want to entertain and be involved in it. And like, that's for them. It's not for me. I'm going to continue to share my message for the people who are starting to realize there's something off about this whole paradigm, but I don't know what else there is.
Right.
That's why I continue to share my message for those people who are like, oh, okay, there is another way of looking at this that I've not considered before.
Exactly. And that's when we get into, again, all of the states of bridging the divide and compassion and all the stuff we talked about earlier of assumption, principles, the 4 agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz, and just realizing, okay, if I'm making assumptions about someone's intention without knowing their intention, then I'm actually failing in the 4 agreements. I'm judging and I'm assuming, and I'm doing all those things that we, as quote truthers, did our best to break out of.
Yes.
But then if you're doing it back, now to these people again, then that's, I think, another stage of the spiritual evolution, as people that are like quote unquote waking up to certain awarenesses and snapping out of the matrix, that just know that there's another veil, and then there's another veil, and there's another veil. You know, and so if you get to this part of the veil, like maybe the next veil is now going back and having compassion for other people that are still choosing to be in these other paradigms, and like loving them in the best way possible. And instead of going off on them, maybe we can do our best to educate them or inspire them, you know? Because if you just talk to like a virus, whatever person, and say, you're killing everyone, blah, 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 you're doing all these things, well, they're not going to be inspired to want to know the information you want to share. But if you came in with curiosity and question, and that's a big part of what I would love to share with the audience and the world, is that we have the possibility of shifting ourselves on how we communicate, coming in with compassion and curiosity. And that's actually, if the goal is to get to a place where there's less people, vaccines and poison, well, why wouldn't we maximize our efficiency at getting the message out?
Yeah.
And if we increase our efficiency, then we might actually get the result. But if we're just yelling and screaming at everybody, we're not actually going to get the result. So I understand that there's anger and passion. You should have the anger and passion to move you.
But don't project it on other
But
people.
when you then use that as a part of your actual method of communication, you're going to create a different result, because what you resist persists. As we know, it's like spiritual laws right there.
Amen. And I've said this before on a number of episodes. I'm convinced that you could plop any, quote, I hate this term, but for lack of a better term, normie, any person who's
Muggles.
muggles might be even worse. But someone brought up, you could call them a minor, because you know how like my definition of a minor is someone who hasn't reclaimed the security in their state. Call them a minor.
A ward of the state.
A ward of the state. It's fucked up. But okay, someone who's still fully bought into the mainstream paradigm, I'm convinced if you plop them at an event like Music and Sky or Confluence, by the end of it, they would be fundamentally transformed, or at the very least, beginning to question all the things they had bought into, because at Confluence or at Music and Sky, you're not amongst people who are like trying to scream down your face. You're amongst people who are really, really trying to orient themselves to embody that which they believe in, to showcase a better way of being, rather than yell and shove it down people's throats.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So it's, and when you're doing it that way, I liken it to, I grew up as an evangelical Christian for part of my life at least. And even when I was an evangelical Christian, the Christians who were like shaming other people into trying to become Christians, I couldn't freaking stand them, because I'm like, you're doing a disservice. You're turning people off to this idea. Oh, well, we're telling the truth of the gospel. I'm like, yeah, there's a way to go about speaking what is true and doing it with compassion for where people are currently at. That is actually much more effective. And even more than the speaking, it's the embodying. And who are you supposed to be like if you're acting as a Christian? You're supposed to be like Christ. And yes, Christ flipped over tables with the Pharisees and the Sadducees, but
there's a backstory around that.
There's also a backstory around that. And also, more importantly, he embodied the love of the Creator. And so if you're going to tried to bring people into this new paradigm, the best way to do it is be a shining example through how you embody. And that goes back to that torus, that field right there that's on my logo. If you're being a strong, coherent field, you will naturally, by virtue of your very beingness, overtake and entrain the weaker, incoherent fields around you.
Correct. Well, liking it back to what was my analogy at the beginning, like if your goal is to achieve a goal, let's say you're shooting free throws. I'm shooting a free throw and I keep shooting it and it's off. I missed. Well, if you blame the rim for you missing your shot, then you're not taking responsibility.
Yes.
And responsibility is literally everything.
Mm-hmm.
So if I just adjust myself, now I'm course correcting little by little, I'm achieving the free throw, bringing it back to the communication. If the goal is to transform or wake someone up, if that's your goal, and you do this and it's not working, and now you're blaming them. They're not ready. You're blaming them. You're blaming the rim.
Mm-hmm.
But what about adjusting how I communicate? Let me adjust my tone. Let me adjust my words. Let me adjust my field. And little by little, you got to ask yourself, is it working? Am I getting closer to the result? If that's your result, again, if you have a goal, then it's probably a good idea as a human to figure out how to achieve the goal.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, get a different goal. You know what I mean? And it's that simple. So if my goal is to reach more people with a positive message and it's not working, and then I blame the people for them being dumb and not ready, then I'm not taking responsibility. That's not the high order of sovereignty mentality, beingness that I think is the thing to lead by example with. I would say, let me shift my message. As a songwriter, if I'm writing a song and it's not going anywhere, I can shift the song, or I can shift my marketing. There's a lot of things you can shift, but I can still take responsibility. Oh, the world's not ready for this music. No, like maybe I can market it better, or maybe I can write a better song, you know? And maybe I can, so if, you know, a message of peace and love can be delivered, or a message of waking people up to virology or statism or all of the, or volunteerism, the beautiful things that we show at Confluence and Music and Sky. Well, we're leading by just being it. The Music and Sky is just being it. Confluence is just being it. And then we invite people. We invite, you know, and that's my mission, is to then create a stadium show of the level of Coldplay, Michael Jackson. That's like a Confluence or Music and Sky. It's like my concert.
So epic.
It's the same. And now there's 30,000 people there, and we're just being it. And we're just playing the music. And by people being there, I'm not preaching on stage or anything ridiculous, because that's gonna just chase people away. If you just tell people, what is it? Show don't tell. It's show don't tell. And that's like Sondheim is like the great songwriters in the songwriting world. They all said that. And all the screenwriters in the music and the movie industry, they all say the same thing, show don't tell. Like when you write lyrics to a song, when you're preaching the lyrics in a very literal way, it's a little bit didactic. You know, you're kind of just telling people the answer. And we talked about this earlier. Discovery. When I'm discovering is when I get inspired. It's when I learn the best. Same thing with the song. You want to guide someone with a story. You want to tell stories. And by telling someone a story, they get the message, which is why every single religion, every single culture, storytelling is how you learn the morals of the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments is the telling part, but it's the stories of how did this person live?
Yes.
Those are the parts where you actually learn the Ten Commandments. And then you look at them and go, oh, Rama from the Ramayana of India, for example, was leading by example. He was honorable in all the stories. He stuck to his word. When he was told he was banished from the kingdom for 14 years, he's like, he didn't fight about it. He's like, I'm going to do my honor and I'm going to do it. And you want to be like Rama. And what's Rama doing? He's doing the things in the Ten Commandments, but we're learning about it by watching his story. And that's how the people learn the best. The best songs tell you the story, and then you learn through your own self-discovery, not because the song told me that all you need is love, which you need those once in a while. You know, Bob Marley, the Beatles, they all wrote these songs that did hit the message every once in a while, but they wrote like 50 other songs that led you there.
Yeah.
You know, and that's like, I kind of see myself as in the path of Bob Marley, Michael Jackson, the Beatles, in terms of where I see my purpose right now, is being able, because Bob Marley probably didn't get into music to do politics. You know, I didn't get into music to do politics, but now I found myself invited to perform at the inauguration and all these crazy events, not because I was like, I gotta go sing in a political event. I just was writing music just like Bob Marley did, but I also see problems in the world to fix. I use the word problems in the normie sense.
Totally.
You know, but I see opportunities.
You see opportunities to help people remember
I
who
see
they are.
opportunities to bridge the divide of left and right, Republican, Democrat, of voluntarism versus status, whatever the duality might be, virus versus no virus. I see an opportunity for me as a communication bridge. That's where I've seen my purpose, because I'm friends with the virus people and the no virus people. And I think they both make sense. And I think they need to just talk to each other more. You know, let's get you and Dell and Mickey all together in a room and having a beautiful conversation, because we all love our families and we all love helping. And I think there's an opportunity there. Same thing with the music. I see myself going to the Trump inauguration to sing my song Together We Rise and then speak in front of a large audience of status about volunteerism.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is what I do.
Right.
You know, I went to the Rescue the Republic, which is a big event, and everyone was aligned on, it wasn't necessarily about statism, honestly. The event was more about being anti-corruption and anti-surveillance and things that I'm aligned with. So I felt aligned with that event, and I went up there, and maybe some people were like talking about voting and something else. I wasn't. I went there to talk about the possibilities of each of us to self-govern and to like wake up from the medical big pharma matrix and all these kinds of things. And those are the things I shared about.
It's such a peculiar thing, man, because I have actually had people before insinuate that I'm controlled opposition simply because I was at the same event as X, Y, and Z people. And I'm like, it's interesting you say that though, because I was there speaking my position without any qualifications, without censoring myself at all. I was sharing what I was there to share. that is very at odds with whatever that person talks about.
Yeah.
They didn't censor me on stage. I was still there to share my message. Should I decline those requests to come speak because X, Y, and Z other people who you might assume are controlled opposition might be there just because I don't agree with him? I should decline the opportunity to speak there? That's absurd. I think it's probably the same with you. It's like, if I am being invited to perform and I'm still able to sing my songs and share my message and be me, and I'm very much a voluntarian, even if I am amongst statists, should I decline that offer? No. Or should I use this as an opportunity like, hey, here's a message that I am here to share. And for any of you who may have never heard this before, maybe you've just heard a little bits about it. Oh, now I'm a little bit more interested. I've never heard what this person has offered, or I've heard it before, but I never really thought of it that way, that this person is now sharing it or this person's embodying it.
Right.
Okay, now I'm interested to hear what this person has to say elsewhere. Let me go look a little bit more.
Yeah. And that's where it just depends on the event, right? It depends on what the culture is and what you're signing up for.
Right.
Like if I'm going to these things knowing that I'm signing up for continuing to be myself.
That's my point. If someone reached out to me,
someone's
like,
requiring me to compromise my integrity, then I'm going to say something, and I'm going to stand up for my integrity. And if they say, okay, cool, then come anyway, then I'm going to come. But if they say, we don't want you to say this there, we don't want to talk about this there, I mean, like, well, then I can't come. And so
I've had that happen too, where someone has said, we want you to come speak, but we want you to refrain from speaking on this. I'm like, I'm not coming.
But this is what I do.
Yeah,
I'm here to talk about these things. I'm here to sing about these things. Like, don't do that song. Like, yeah. Like I make songs because I think they're fun to make songs. And not all of my songs necessarily represent me every time. I made a song, the Trumpty Dance, which was hilarious, but that's not necessarily my Deepak brand, but it was fun loving and cool. And so I understand if there's judgment around like, oh, that means you're now like signing up for that. But like, that wasn't my intention, but I understand what comes with it. And I took it. I was like, you know what? This is a viral moment. It's a rare moment. Everyone's having fun right now. Everyone's celebrating. I want to share joy and celebration. I'm going to just make this thing. And it went viral and I did it. And that doesn't change what I'm going to make next. And I'm going to continue to make another, and if I have to explain myself, then I will. But it was fun, and like, I'm just about having fun and being a big kid. So I did it. But like Together We Rise, I would say is more on brands with my message. That's the anthem. That's what I'm focused on writing more about. That's what, should I sing that actually for a second?
Yeah, if you want to, man.
Yeah.
Most of us already know Shilajit is powerful. It's been used for thousands of years for energy, mental clarity, and overall vitality. But here's the problem. Most companies offering Shilajit are cutting corners. They're using fillers, skipping proper testing, and even hiding heavy metals like lead and arsenic behind fancy marketing and Instagram influencers. Dr. Andy Kaufman saw this happening and decided enough was enough. As an MIT biology graduate and tireless advocate for health freedom, he spent years researching and testing dozens of different Shilajit sources. And what he found was shocking: widespread contamination, fake lab reports, and murky supply chains everywhere he looked. And in response, he decided to create his own Shilajit, Authentica Shilajit, sourced from over 16,000 feet in the Himalayas, rigorously tested for purity, and backed by complete transparency. No fillers, no mystery ingredients, just the real deal. Shilajit you can actually trust and feel from the first serving. And listen, out of all the natural health doctors out there, Dr. Andy Kaufman is one of the most brilliant, in-depth researchers I know. If he recommends something, I'm definitely going to pay more attention. So if you're taking Shilajit already but have that gut feeling that something's just off, you're probably right. Trust that instinct and check out medauthentica.com/wayforward, or just head to the show notes and be sure to use code WAYFORWARD for 10% off your first order. Most healthcare today operates on an outdated, mechanistic model, treating the body like a battlefield rather than a self-healing system. You wait months for an appointment only to receive a rush diagnosis that labels you rather than truly understanding your unique health. Even in holistic health, many practitioners rely on endless lab tests and supplement protocols, addressing symptoms instead of the root cause. And the result? Another prescription or supplement regimen that merely suppresses or masks symptoms rather than facilitating true healing, whether the imbalance was physical, emotional, energetic, or a mix of all three. And that's why Dr. Tom Cowan co-founded the New Biology Clinic, to offer something radically different. As one of the most respected natural health doctors in the world, Dr. Cowan has spent decades challenging conventional medicine and advancing a deeper understanding of human biology, water, and natural health. His work isn't just about rejecting the mainstream, it's about offering a more truthful, biologically coherent approach for healing. The New Biology Clinic recognizes that health isn't about fighting disease, it's about restoring balance. You're not a diagnosis, you're an individual with a unique story, and healing should honor that. With virtual consultations available worldwide, the clinic offers a flat-rate monthly membership that gives you direct access to practitioners who take the time to actually listen. Members also get exclusive health live streams, a resource library, and live sessions covering everything from biofield tuning and breathwork to movement and meditation, all designed to support whole body healing. And if you're not ready for a membership, you can book a one-time appointment, sign up for an enrichment-only membership for the healing modalities alone, or schedule a free connection session with one of the care team members to see how the New Biology Clinic can help in your specific situation. This isn't about keeping you dependent on doctors. It's about making you sovereign over your health. Head to newbiologyclinic.com and use code THEWAYFORWARD, and that's spelled The Way, F-O-R-W-A-R-D, for $50 off account activation, or just head to the show notes for more info. If you're a member of The Way Forward, email hello@thewayforward.com for $150 off. Your body already knows how to heal, and New Biology Clinic helps you remember.
Okay, so yeah, this song, we're talking about Together We Rise, is a little bit more on my mission, which is unity, bringing people together. I think you were asking me on the phone too, we were talking yesterday about songs, and we'll get into that in the second half a little bit, about like what inspires songs, where they come from. To be clear on this song came from a bigger calling. It's like, I'm looking at the world, I'm seeing division, I'm seeing polarization, I'm seeing people fighting. It hurts my heart, genuinely. I'm someone who's just like love. I got the Ahimsa Indian background, the innocence, that childlike spirit, that kind of Krishna, Rama, from the stories of just like, just wanting everyone to have a good time. I was always just like wanting to have it. Can we all just get along? What was that like? There's like that commercial, like Steve Urkel, like it was like, and it's just like, so the song kind of has that message of like, hey, unity. Unity is the way. That's the hook. Together we will rise, and and that also, it's our time. That's what it is. The title, It's Our Time, is like now. Yeah. So it's like Together We Rise is like a general thought, but the call to action is that it's our time. So that's kind of what I wanted to get into that. So I wrote this song for that. Originally, Together We Rise is the motto of the Independent National Convention with Christopher Life. And so he inspired me to write it, and it ended up becoming the anthem for the Independent National Convention. And then it kind of blew up as a song everywhere. And like now it's at the Autism Health Summit, and now it got invited to be performed at the inauguration, at Bobby Kennedy's Maha Ball, at the Trump inauguration, at Rescue the Republic, but also at Silicon Valley events, at left, right, up, down. Like I sang it at Confluence, I sang it at Music and Sky, and it's a song for everyone. So it's not like any allegiances to anything but just humanity. And I Team Humanity is sort of like part of my brand. I have teamhumanity.me, and I'm really just all about that whole idea. So that's the song. I'll sing just like the first part of it. Rise up from the ashes, rise up from the flames, see through the lies that feed the fires that we create. Come out from the shadows, come out in plain sight. Nothing to lose, it's time to move into the light. Yeah, together, united, deny it or fight it, no more hiding anymore. Our story, we write it or lose it, we can't keep quiet anymore. 'Cause together we will rise, together we will rise, together we will rise. Can't wait any longer, it's our time, yeah, 'cause it's our time. Together we will rise, together we will rise, together we will rise. Can't wait any longer, it's our time, yeah, 'cause it's our time. Oh, oh. That was like the first half of the song real quick.
Love it, man.
So it's kind of like that unity anthem, and it has that kind of sing-along quality that I love. Again, I was inspired by Michael Jackson and Bob Marley, the Beatles, and they just wrote sing-alongs, and I love sing-alongs. And I was in college, that's what I was talking about when I was singing in my a cappella group, and we were singing. It was always like famous songs. You know, that's the a cappella culture. You familiar with that a little bit? Yeah, the a cappella culture is like, you know, you're singing these famous songs, but you're doing it all with voices. That's what a cappella means.
Yeah.
And then so like we had the whole joke because I would stack my voice on top of myself, so we call it Deepak cappella. Yeah. You'll hear like 1,000 variations of my name.
Deepak.
Deepak is the year in therapy guy. Deepak cappella is the me layering my voice is like and I would lay the bass down and like I would go up and like just layer all these voices, and then by the end it sounds like an orchestra, but it's just my voice.
That's cool.
And I would stack like the lower, the bass, boom, 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 right? And I would just lay it up with the beat bop, and just all the way up to
you
the
bring
top.
one of those, I don't know what to call them. Yeah, looper.
Yeah,
okay.
And so that's in the modern time. So when I was a kid, we just like had the little thing, and we would just record one layer on the mic, and then I would record another layer on the mic, and then I would just stack myself. And like by the end, the quality is all degraded. And it's like it sounds like But it was I did like the Beach Boys Goodbye. I like the colorful clothes she wears, like the Beach Boys Good Vibrations.
Yeah,
and like ba-doom doom ba-doom doom da-dum doom da-dum and I'll just stack it, and it was just like fun. It's just like playing, like it's only child syndrome over here. Like I don't have any siblings or anything, so I'm like, what do I do by myself? And it's just like layer my voice over and over again.
That's cool though. I love that.
Yeah. So Deepak cappella was that, and then I got into college, and then I got inspired by and we would sing these popular songs, and of course, the audience would know the songs. And that's the power of a really good song.
Yes.
Is that like that creates the thing we talked about earlier with the mass meditation, everyone doing the same thing. Well, there's a magic of everyone singing along. And there's a reason that throughout thousands of years of culture, every single culture has sing-alongs. You sing in church, everyone's singing along. And the Hebrews, they're all singing along, like Hine Matov, and all these songs. And in Kirtan, in my culture, in India, we do bhajans, and we all sing along. And we notice, like, wait a second, the Native Americans, they're singing along. Pachamama, the medicine songs, they're all singing in all these different languages. And it's like, wait a second, just like we talked about with critical mass and mass meditation and a bunch like 10,000 people together or 100 people together creating a shift in the field, same thing happens when everyone's singing. And that's what we talked about earlier with the throat chakra being blocked, is that became part of my mission, my calling, is to create the ultimate world sing-alongs and get everyone to open their throats and sing together. And even if you don't think you're a singer, you're all singers out there. Everyone's a singer.
Well, a good song too, especially sung by a good musician like you, is so powerful at bringing you from a headspace deep into your body, into your vessel, into your heart, and out of the muck of the mind that we've been talking about in this episode.
Yes.
And that's so helpful and useful for mankind right now, because I was reflecting on
healing,
as you were saying something a little bit ago, how a lot of these things require stillness for us to get into our bodies again. But there's so much noise happening amongst society right now, so many distractions at so many angles. My friend Mike Cardamone calls them voices. There's just voices everywhere that we can't find our own. And I think music is such a powerful tool to help you get deep into your body and sort of bypass all those voices that are occurring around you and sit within yourself and who you truly are.
Yeah, because when we're in action, we get out of our mind a little bit. That's why I use the sports analogies, but also going to the gym. There's a reason people, Tony Robbins, whoever it is, like, hey, let's get into our bodies.
Yeah.
But how? You had to move a little bit. Well, singing is one of the best ways to do that.
Yeah.
Because you're literally now in your body. You're in your vibration. You're also using your voice. So you're vibrating this whole vessel. This whole thing's vibrating, especially this very suppressed part of humanity, which again, I'm very, very passionate about helping open up. Because I think there's a lot of healing that can just come out if we just express ourselves, say, sing, speak. I think there's a lot of deep healing for the people. Like all of humanity could heal together by just speaking and singing together. And so that's what got me into that when I was doing the a cappella group. We're on stage all singing. It felt really good just for us. Even in rehearsal, it felt good. But then we get on stage and we're singing, and now the audience is singing. And now everyone's singing. And then I got into doing the Michael Jackson again, Heal the World, We Are the World. These are big sing-alongs. I wrote Together We Rise. My best and most joyful experiences lately are singing this song. And then I cut out at the end. I'm like, let's all sing together. Together we will rise up. And everyone's singing along. And I get more filled with energy when I hear them do it than when I do it.
Yeah.
You know, and that feels good. And all of a sudden, like, I mean, it's undeniable. It's a universal language for a reason. Music is a universal language. It bridges the divide. It's a very powerful healing tool, especially when done in frequencies like 432 hertz.
I was just about to bring that up because like even the effect of you go to places and are invited to perform at events that are ostensibly more like left-leaning people, but you're there sort of infiltrating like a Trojan horse playing this song in 432.
Right. And what is 432? So that's a good question. So a lot of people are hearing about it lately, and there's these different frequencies, right? So a frequency, basically, just a simple definition for the layman. There's all these notes in the scale. It's the alphabet: A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It's a musical alphabet. They stop at G, they go back to A again. It loops around. You go on a piano, it's just A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, over and over again, right? So A is around the frequency 400 something ish hertz is about an A, and 432 hertz is an old school A, you know, from back in the day. Also 444 hertz is another old school A. And a lot of church bells, a lot of old instruments, a lot of like Indian instruments, indigenous instruments around the world were tuned to these other frequencies in the modern era. And we can get into like, there is story and there's history to be known. And I want to get more accurate on what's true and what's not, that maybe it's intentional that things were moved to 440 hertz. You know, and I'm looking for more evidence on that. I've seen stuff that's convinced me that this is true. I'd like to, before I define that as a fact, I'd like to like get some like hands on.
What's unique about 440 that makes it not as healing as 432 or 444?
All I can do is cite that there are a lot of studies that show the differences in the effect.
Got it.
For people. And so what is being noticed is that when people are listening to, and they do double-blind test studies. There's a number of studies. People go on PubMed and look this stuff up. There's legitimate studies showing that the same thing played in 440 versus 432 versus 444 have different effects on the cortisol, the heartbeat, all these kind of things. So lowering the heart rate leads to lower blood pressure, leads to less stress, lower cortisol. They're getting better results from 432 and 528, by the way, and 444 are the same thing. It's just,
I did not know that.
It's the same thing. So basically, 528 is a C.
Got it.
So if you go on the scale A, B, C, around 440 is all A, and the 432 is a little bit less than 440. It's a little flatter, which is where my instruments are. 444 is a little bit higher on the A. So if you go to B, that's now getting into about 470, 480-ish hertz. And then C on the 444 scale would be 528.
Got it.
And then on the 432 scale, the C would be like 521 or something like that. So those are, anyway, like once you get into one frequency, then all the notes are going to be relative to that same frequency.
Got it. Makes
right?
sense.
So if you're in 432, everything's relative to 432. If you're 444, everything's relative to 444. So if you're in 444, the C is 528. My birthday is also 528. So that's an interesting synchronicity. Like I was born on 528. All of my old material from 10 years ago is in 528. All my band, Robot Nature, that I had from 2016, 2017, all of that I recorded in 528.
When did you get tipped off to this?
Like 17 years ago.
Wow. What tipped you off to the...
I was hearing about it from the sound healing community.
Got it.
Which was like a very niche community of like kind of the hippies with the bowls and the singing bowls and stuff.
Tuning forks back then too.
Yeah,
probably.
tuning forks.
Eileen, shout out to Eileen.
Oh yeah, Eileen, what's up? But yeah, I was about 17 years ago. I was really deep. I came to Los Angeles and I discovered a lot of like the new age kind of hippie scene. You know what I mean? And that whole world is a lot of like the conscious community, they call it. Right. It was just like a lot of loving-minded people.
Lots of awesome
that
stuff
were discovering.
Yeah.
No, it was amazing. They were discovering. For me, what made it special, I was like, well, look at all these crazy white people that are obsessed with India. I'm like, this is cool. I'm Indian, and there's always like hippies running around that change their names to Indian names. All these Jews, all these Hindus, and I'm like, this is crazy. This is hilarious. And I was just like this Indian guy. Like, I was like a fish out of water. I'm like, what's going on? Like, they're all singing Indian stuff. They're all singing the kirtan, pronouncing it all wrong. And it was just, but it was amazingly loving.
Wearing all white.
but I loved it because I felt flattered, first of all, that my culture is being loved.
Yeah.
I felt their love. I felt their genuine, and I just genuinely fell into that community and fell in love with these people. And I was like, this is amazing. They're honoring India. They're like honoring it from Santa Monica, California.
Has any part of you ever felt that there was like, because some people say this, like, hey, you're culturally appropriating.
I don't believe in all that stuff.
Okay, yeah.
You know, I think that's just like people judging other people for doing something.
Dude, you could come up with so many examples across the board of everyone doing that all over the place. And it's like, who cares?
I just care about intention.
The only times that it really bothers me is when you can tell someone's using it as a means to escape themselves.
Again, intention.
Exactly.
If the intention is to honor something or endear it or respect it or you like it, if it's Halloween and you want to wear like a headdress, like a Native American thing because you think it's cool, it's, it's just do it. You know, if you're making fun of it and then doing it, that's a different intention.
Yeah, a perfect example of that of someone who, and you may have met him at Confluence because he was there teaching Kundalini yoga. Yeah, is Jagopal. Like he was a West Point graduate, former Army officer who found Kundalini yoga.
White dude, Indian name.
Yes, and like, well, but it's awesome because like, he's legit. He's still him, and you can tell. No. He's in devotion to this. He's a Sikh now. You know, like he's in devotion to this. He's not using it as a form of escape. That's who he is.
Right. No, because if you're on your journey and you discovered yoga, and originally you might have been, like we talked about this earlier. Remember we were talking about you just do the chanting and you start out kind of just doing it blindly, but eventually it starts to sink in. Well, same thing. A lot of people started out with yoga because they want to get fit. Yep. Which is not the purpose of yoga. No. But
isn't the purpose to prepare you for meditation?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
like,
basically,
such a misconception.
So this is where we get into yoga, and what does the word yoga even mean? Yoga actually just means practice. Yeah. You know, so
to prepare your vessel for sitting in meditation.
So specifically, the movements of the body are hatha yoga.
Yeah.
Hatha, pronounced hatha yoga. They spell it hatha yoga. It's hatha yoga, right? And then
that's what I always thought. Hatha
yoga. No. But it's hatha yoga, and then there's different forms of yoga. Kriya yoga is breathing. Bhakti yoga means devotion, and jnana yoga is the knowledge. Right. So if you're studying the scripture, if you're going into your mind to study to get deeper, that's the jnana yoga. You're getting into the knowledge and you're starting out getting intellectual and cerebral, but by going all the way with it, it takes you to the divine.
That's got chills.
Right. So each of these things get you to the divine. You go all the way because someone might judge and be like, well, you're just getting heady. No, you go all the way with it. You go all the way into knowledge and it frees you from the knowledge. Right? Yeah. That's the thing. You go into the scripture and you're just getting all heady for a while. And you just like, and a lot of people that do that with science, like Einstein, all these guys, which, they might be frauds because they were representing statism in the government, but a lot of them had the same story where they went deep into science and discovered God because they got to the what is, they got to the why. Like, yes, these equations all work within the limited system, but what created the system? Right? What's the thing outside of it? Yes, the equations work. 9.8 meters per second squared acceleration towards the Earth, electrostatics, and quote unquote gravity, whatever you want to call it, is a predictable equation that helps us function in society. Right. Scientism. It helps us work things out. Like I know now I can predict when I throw the football, it's going to land there. Or when I'm building a skyscraper, the math helps me with cubic feet and the physics of that to build something.
And that's where this is. Can I bring up an important
anti-science?
Yes. Like I want to bring up an important point real quick. People will say that math is the language of the universe. No, it's not. Math is a tool to describe the language that already is. You can also use math to describe something that is fundamentally not real and use it for modeling. So I think that distinction is so important because I hear people say that all the time, that math is the language for the universe. No, it is not the language for the universe. It is a language to describe what is, but it also can be used to describe what is clearly not. And when you conflate the two and think math is the language for the universe, you end up worshiping scientism.
Correct. Exactly. And that's what happens. It becomes another religion, the scientism religion, where now we're inside of a thing because it explains everything. But the zoom out, again, if we get back to that macro navigation steering analogy I like to use, is if you zoom out of the system that you're obsessed with, you still got to ask the question, where did the system come from? What created the system? What's the intelligent of the design of the thing, which is intelligently designed? And now that we know the math, we can efficiently operate and drive our cars and do these things that are very functional and useful. Just understand that it's still inside of a thing that was created, and then we get to have both. then we're not like going, no, they're wrong, or no, they're crazy religious people. No, like it's actually a beautiful thing that explains things. That's all math is for, is explaining things and how they work. And so we can make predictions, even if they're not real, like you said, for modeling.
Yeah, exactly. And that distinction is so helpful. As long as you have that as background context, you can sort of see it for what it is. Like, it is helpful to make things work, of course, when you already have worked out how the things work. Right.
So that gets into like, what we're getting at. So the 432 Hertz frequency is, I'm noticing that like that particular math is resulting in a lower heart rate, lowered cortisol, all these kinds of things. 444, same kind of thing. So, that's where, we get into infiltrating and doing the song in these different environments, whether it's known or not. It's beautiful, even if it's not known why. And so, and finishing the topic of yoga, people get on the mat. Maybe their intention is to work out, but they got on the mat, and now they're on the mat, and now they're on the mat, and now they're on the mat. And as they're doing that, they might discover, again, a spiritual experience by doing it enough times. So that's why I don't get into like, well, they're just doing it because they're just trying to work out.
No. Whitewashed version of yoga.
Let them do it. Yeah. Let everyone do what they're doing. Let everyone, the path, if you just allow the path, it ends up usually leading to something next. And a lot of people, I know a lot of people that started out yoga because they just want to get fit. They're in Los Angeles. Everyone's just trying to look good because it's just part of the Los Angeles culture. And they're just like trying to get fit. But they ended up discovering kirtan. They just started discovering the chanting that comes with the yoga, with that. And they started, like, Om Narayana Narayana Jai Jai Govinda Hare, Narayana Narayana Jai Jai Gopala Hare. These beautiful chants that just feel good. And then, people were like, well, what does it mean? Well, let's get into our heads that you get into it, but you don't even need to know what it means. You can just chant it and you're going to feel good.
You also feel it though, too. You can feel what it means before you know what it means.
And then maybe, cool, let's find out after.
Yeah.
Let's see how close our intuition is to the thing that someone was telling me. So that's what I really liked about the idea of yoga and getting into Los Angeles and the culture. It was like, I went out there. So that was the question to like, when did I discover a lot of the sound healing? Is I discovered this new age conscious hippie culture and I just fell in love with it. And I felt like I had something I could bring them, because I can show them a little bit of like the true Indian pronunciation, because there is a way, if they're saying like Hatha Yoga or a Bhakti Fest, I'm like, hey, it's called Bhakti Fest. And there's like a reason that letter is Bha, because it's actually resonating. And the language of Sanskrit literally manifested from a balance between the right brain and the left brain, from logic and emotion. It's literally the balance between the cerebral and the emotional. That's what Sanskrit is.
Wow.
And so when you're saying it, you're actually feeling an idea and you're feeling the emotion, both. So it's one of the most balanced, and that's why the coding of that's used in modern computer languages, and because it has this coding to it. And that's where the word code comes in, because there's the code, which is the law, the Uniform Commercial Code. The word code is also computer code.
Mm-hmm.
And what all code is a perfectly design thing where you're saying these things and they create the result outward. So if you type in the code and if it's wrong, you're going to get an error on the computer. And if the law is written incorrectly, then you can interpret it differently, because interpretation of the law, which is contra proferendum, which is the word in the Black's Law Dictionary that defined interpretation of law, is looking for ways to go around the code or interpret the same code in multiple different ways. Mm-hmm. Same thing back to music now. So now you get the code is the vibration, because now you're encoding yourself with healing vibrations, which are the balance of the song, the lyrics, the intention, and the frequency now, right? Boom. So now you can have these amazing songs which have these affirmations, which are the words, together we will rise. It's an affirmation, straight up. Affirmation, the science of affirmations has been studied for thousands of years. Tony Robbins, you name it. Prayer is literally affirmations. Every culture has affirmations. That's what I'm doing when I'm writing my lyrics. I'm thinking of affirmations. Now, the science this time, the frequency, the vibration is 432 Hertz. Now I've got the vibration covered. I got the beat. In there. Right? That gets the heart going. Mm-hmm. So now we're hitting all these different things. We've got the body moving. Everyone's loosening up. They're singing the affirmations. The healing's coming in. And now you're creating an actual transformational full body sensory experience with music, which is what I'm looking to do here. Mm-hmm. We're making albums that can change like the vibration of the planet. And then we have like this big event Like we're talking about like a Confluence or Music and Sky stadium edition.
50,000 up in that mode.
Yeah, stadium edition, and then all of us, Win Some Kind, and then myself and Brad, 5 Times August, we're all on stage, and we're all just doing these encoded like amazing frequencies, and we got booths out there. We got ourselves a massive like world culture of healing, and we're showing, not telling. We're not preaching. We're not yelling at everybody. This is the vision, I think, of potential possibility. And so, that's what got me into it. Was that world of the new age scene, finding the kirtan people, finding the sound healers, and then learning from, Christo Polani is a great sound healer I met years ago who studied, and the Tibetan bowls are more in the metal bowls. And then you got the crystal bowls. So there's different types of healing bowls. Mm-hmm. So like in Tibet, China, they have these metal ones that are like, they're kind of, I don't know the material, it's like copper or brass or something. And they have these amazing tonal frequencies. And then you have these crystal bowls. And all of them were in 432 and 444. And I'm like, what's going on here? So then we start discovering later on there's a possible story. And I need to get, there's probably people out there that know this better than I do.
I think a lot of the people like
the
make assertions
Hertz.
Though about like for sure this is what happened.
This was done intentionally to agitate the people, and maybe
and that could be true. That could be.
Well, I'm saying it could be.
Yeah,
I'm knowing what we know now. Yeah. It absolutely could be true. I just personally can't state it until I personally know for a fact that it's true. But I can suppose. Mm-hmm. I can presuppose.
But
that it's possible.
Irrespective of what occurred, we know that much of music today is tuned to 440.
440 hertz, right.
Which is interesting.
Interesting. And we're also, notice now let's dial back the things I broke down earlier. Lyrics, affirmations. Well, there's a lot of like lyrics that are very negative.
Yes.
More
than negative. Like there's some lyrics that are just straight like
satanic programming.
Yeah, dude.
And it gets into that. And then, there's hip hop cultures, there's aspects of it that are designed to almost that create narratives. And we start getting into the history of like what's going on. CIA, hip hop.
Totally,
all these connections are real.
It's such a tough one for me because I grew up listening to hip hop.
I love it too.
And I still, it's so tough.
I grew up on all of it. Yeah. But if you go back and listen to it, they're affirming gangster culture.
100%.
They're affirming, scarcity mentality. Like I was raised in the streets, like I'm ready to die. Biggie Smalls, remember back in the days when niggas had braids, gazelle shades and corn braids. It's a memory. Yeah. It's a good story, but it's also reaffirming
that.
It's a reaffirming something, and there is a science around that. So I'm pro storytelling. And I think we need to tell the stories. I don't think the music should just be all love and light. I'm definitely not writing that. But I think that the storytelling should be about storytelling, and not about holding on to that thing as if it's glorifying the devil or glorifying.
It's more
the
of a referencing back to
violence.
This is what I've been through as a means to here's who I am now. Right,
but if it's part of your story,
the hero's journey.
Yeah,
if you're speaking about it or rapping about it or singing about it from that context, it's different.
If you're coming in Joseph Campbell on the thing, Hero's Journey, and you're coming in like a part of my story, because I'm writing an album, it's funny we use the word identity. My album's going to be called Identity.
Wow.
Because I've come through all of these different identities and questioning who I am, and am I a doctor, am I this? And now I'm the sovereign guy. And now I'm like the guy at the Trump rally. And now I'm like the guy over here singing the songs. And now I'm like talking about viruses. And like what's going on here? Like we have an identity crisis. Well, the word crisis was originally the name as an identity crisis, but then that's manifesting it. So I changed it to this identity.
I love that.
And the first song might be Crisis. And that's part of the hero's journey.
Yeah.
And it might be like an agitating, I might have the first song be like, and I already have a concept for it, might be like an agitating sort of experience coming from the suffering. And then as you go through the journey, you get to like discovering yourself somewhere, like maybe around song 4 or 5.
I love when albums are intentional like that too. They really take you. Yes, they take you on a journey like that.
That's where I'm envisioning the Identity album becoming. And I'm looking to get support from the community to help manifest it, to fund it, to build it, because I think this is a cool vision that could have videos and storytelling, and it actually could become a show. It became an entire experience, like the stadium show we talked about. That could be a thing called Identity that everyone could come to, and everyone could come and discover their own identity in this vessel.
I love
of like a stadium show experience that's it's interactive and immersive, and it maybe there's like stuff you put on, and maybe there's there's stuff that you see on the screens, and there's like symbols and all kinds of sound healing elements, and have people leave going, wow, I feel transformed from that experience. That's what I'm calling in.
I love that.
And it'll all be in 432 and 444 hertz frequencies. Like the song you just heard that I did, Together We Rise, and even my chanting, my violin is tuned. This thing's tuned.
Can you play a little bit on that?
Yeah. This is tuned to 432 also. So this is like a regular violin right here, and it's just tuned down to 432, just because all my songs are in 432. So when I do my riffs or violin solos on top of it, I gotta stay in tune, or it's gonna sound bad. But this is kind of like. Yeah.
For some reason, violin is what
I gets
hits
me feeling.
bro.
Yeah. I mean, I'm playing it, but I'm receiving it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm feeling this thing, you know.
It's such an emotional instrument.
Yeah, it is. And you know why? Think about this. It's right by the throat, right? And it's singing. It's singing right there. And most instruments have frets. Like you see the guitar, it's limited by this note. There's no note between that note and that note.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, it jumps up. Right? Now the human voice, does it have frets? No. Right? So it has infinite notes, right? This one doesn't have infinite notes. This one has infinite notes.
Yeah.
Because you can slide. Just like the human voice. So I think of this as the closest thing to the human voice, which is the most emotive thing, is the human voice. Because you got the vibration, fall down, you see, and in my heart I said to you, right? That's just coming right from my body, but the you can play with frequencies on this thing and the voice, and it's very emotive because it's actually able to sing right from the throat, you know. So
there's so much to that, as like what you just said about it relating to the throat. It's by the throat. That's so cool.
Let's go wild with this thing.
Yeah, that's my favorite instrument.
It's so cool.
Either that or whatever that. Here, let me find
that Indian instrument.
Find that Indian
Yeah.
instrument. Hold on. I got, here we go. Oh, not this one. I'll tell you what it is.
Right,
Here,
right.
I'll even play it. Hold on.
So that's a tambura, by the way.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
a drone.
Yep.
That's the tone.
I'll tell you when the instrument comes on.
Yeah,
You'll
yeah.
know. Then I want to know what instrument this is.
Yeah. Sarod.
Either that or a violin. Or my
Yeah,
favorite
and they're
instrument.
similar, and they're both bowed.
That instrument is like,
Oh yeah,
dude, hits me right in the
Sarod. Yeah,
feels,
that's
man.
a beautiful one, and it's very similar to violin.
How do you spell that?
Sarod.
I'm writing that down because
Yeah.
I'm gonna go look up a playlist that's only that.
Yeah,
that
and in
instrument.
China they have the eru, EHRU, which is a single string bowed instrument. And all of them, these different cultures, that those bowed instruments have similar emotional effects because you're able to sing, and again have the infinite notes. I stress that there's infinite notes. Like on a piano, it's all half steps, right? Staying on the frequency topic, you know, you're going up by a half step at a time. A sharp, B sharp, what was it, C, or C, yeah. C, that's a C. C, and then C. If I'm sliding, I'm hitting every single note.
Yeah.
But if I go on a piano, it's steps.
Yep.
Right, so if you know math, right, there's a step equation, but if you actually create a curve, you're able to hit that. So only certain instruments have the curve.
Yeah.
Any bowed instruments got the curve, you know, and I think certain instruments like trombones you can kind of slide with, whereas a trumpet's just all buttons.
Yep.
Right? And so, but people do is they try to create the curve by like changing their lips.
Yeah.
right?
You notice that with people who are really good with like Native American
They're
wind
able
flutes?
to do that.
Yeah.
They're able to take an instrument that has like flute holes, which are very defined, but they can twist them a little bit, twist their lips a little bit, and they can get some of that emotion that's in between the notes.
Yeah.
Right? Which is in the space between the space ones again, back in that ether concept. You know, it always comes back to the space.
It does, man.
It always does.
Do you find yourself, hold that train of thought.
Yeah.
I'm sure you had something really important to say, probably
I think
better than what I'm
much
going to say. You're a pretty intelligent, brilliant, tapped in guy. So, but when you are in a more emotional songwriting state, do you feel that you turn to the violin more, or have you really thought of it like that?
I think it's whatever is in front of me sometimes. Like I write really, I do a lot on the piano. Piano's one of my main instruments. You don't see it as much because it's hard to carry everywhere.
Yeah.
But like there's a lot of deep emotion on the piano. Also the guitar, you know, has these, you know, you can kind of get like there's these kind of emotional riffs. Like yeah, so it's like a love song. Again, I wrote that Together We Rise. It's like together. Well, this one's like in the morning rain. I decided that I was in love again. You called my name and I hear you say, hey, come over, and I say yes like I'm a robot. I've been trying to hide it. Oh, there's no way now I can fight it. Oh, but I know that I don't trust myself. Right? So it's got that emotion. Like I'm a robot. Like I'm a robot. Yeah. 'Cause when I'm next to you, I feel like I'm a robot. So that's got the more vulnerability, intimacy. It's like when I'm next to you, I feel like I'm a robot. You know, it's like almost like the love is so strong that it's almost like too much to handle. You know, it's like, and it's like I'll just do whatever you say. So that's more like a song for the girl.
Yeah.
You know, a song, and that's like a more emotional, you know, message, and you know, and then the violin on top of that. You know, I'll definitely like when I do that in the studio, like la la da 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 da. Like I love the violin for the emotion as like the top layer, you know. But as a songwriter, you know, it's harder just to write a singer-songwriter song and just a violin. You know, I got to have something to accompany me. Violin's more of a solo instrument than an accompaniment instrument. So like,
that makes sense.
So for accompanying, you want something that's like it's melody. Like the voice is melody, and so is the violin. So they're both melody. Whereas the chords are on the guitar, the chords are on the piano. So I can sing and play piano, sing and play guitar, and then if I do my looper pedal, you know, I might like loop a guitar line and then play violin on top of that and do a solo. Or if I have a band, which I have sometimes a band, or I have my tracks or something like that, then I can just play violin.
What's your homie you travel with sometimes, Johnny?
Johnny, yeah.
I like him.
Shout out to Johnny.
I like Johnny.
Yeah, yeah. Hopefully he'll be out in Austin as well.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
him, man. Yeah, he's a good dude.
He's a good dude. But everything you're hearing is in 432 hertz. And again, like I think
you can feel it.
I think there's something different. I think there's something.
Totally.
I feel something different, and now the double blind tests are coming up, showing. You know, lowered cortisol, lowered heart rate. I mean, if we're...
That's how I feel right now. Shit, dude. Like, you feel it, man.
I feel pretty good, too.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense why, like, going back to the age thing, not to pick on that too much, but, like, you remain in such a playful state. And you've, like, joked with me before. Yeah, dude, back when, like, I was a kid in late 1800s, blah, blah, blah.
Back in the 1600s when I was there, back during the Spanish Armada, when I was helping advise the king spiritually as a Brahmin from the Indian culture on his spiritual choices and how to peacefully conquer, like.
But it makes sense because I feel like you're tapping into that childlike wonder that you talked about earlier, which is so funny. The episode that I literally recorded yesterday, I talked about that. Like that's who we truly are at our core. That's why
identity, right?
Identity.
It's the who are you question.
Yeah.
Well, if who we are is actually a spirit, then what's the age of the spirit? Infinity.
Yeah.
So everyone always asks me, and also we're also always born right now. It's always in the moment.
Yeah.
So everyone's always asking me my age, and I just say from the spirit perspective, it's not like, because like everyone's like, oh, you went to LA, you care about. I said, no, I was doing this when I was like a kid in Maryland.
Yeah.
This is not some LA thing.
But it's awesome too because it's reaffirming that like, no, that's who I truly am. That's what's going to bleed.
I always say I'm 0 turning infinity, and I've been saying since I was like 12 or 13 years old. Just since I was a kid, because I realized we're just infinite beings and we're always born in the moment. We're redefining who we are every single moment. Therefore, we're always 0. Who I am now, I'm going to decide right now. And I have a choice to go any direction. It could be bad, so I'm always got to remember that responsibility has to come with us. Personal responsibility is now. I could be like, oh, I figured it out. I learned everything. No, he didn't. It's like, I'm done now. I'm already set. I'm enlightened, or I already know the truth. No, you don't. No, or at least I don't. I won't say, maybe you do.
Same.
Maybe you do. But I don't.
Highly doubt it if they're listening or watching this podcast. They're like very much like, I don't know shit, and that feels good.
I don't know anything. Socrates, like the only thing I know is I don't know anything. There's a reason for these cliches, like they're cliches for a reason.
Right.
These are good lines, because, coming from nothing is where infinity is, and that actually bridges into my, like getting into water fasting and cleansing, because a white sheet of paper, if it's clean, if you sprinkle a little dirt on it, you see the dirt.
Yeah.
Which is why, it's important. That's like, everyone's like, how do you bridge what you just said, spirituality, into water fasting? No, because you're creating a white, clean slate.
Yeah. Well, like in my experience when I did my extended water fast, I felt more like me because I had eliminated all the other voices.
Yep.
So it relates.
So you're getting back to the clean.
Yes.
Right. Which is you. Yep. Underneath all that. Yep. And the stuff on the surface, whether we talk about food toxins or mental toxins, are the layers, because we're born as a baby, clean white. That's the bridge right there. It's like we come in clean.
Yep.
And as life is happening, we're getting soiled with doubt. We're getting conditioned, by society with these thoughts of you're not good enough, or you do something when you're 3 years old and it imprints, like you make a noise and then, mom she's being loving, but she doesn't realize, be quiet, I'm trying to work. She doesn't realize,
suppress.
The impact is, oh, my voice, my voice is harming. Let me shut down my voice. And again, I think this is a common thread. Again, I keep coming back to the throat chakra being suppressed on the planet because people are feeling like they're harming with their words, and society is encouraging that. The media is encouraging that. The censorship on social media is encouraging that, and it's the same thing. When you cleanse your body physically, you're moving all these toxins out to a place where now you find yourself again. Yes. When you cleanse your mind of these negative thoughts, you get back to who you are again, which is like, I am whole, I am complete, I have value, I have something to offer, I have some share. When you clear the emotional soil out of your fascia through somatic work or cathartic release or bashing or whatever kind of things you're shaking, EMDR, whatever it is, tapping, whatever you got to do to get your emotion out, you clear back to a place where the childhood trauma, the Hoffman process, those kind of things that lead to getting out these emotional things from childhood, clear out back to a nice white clean sheet of paper again. So now when new stimuli are coming in, you can discern better. Because if you don't, just like if you've eaten a bunch of unhealthy food, it's just kind of caked in your body. You may not be feeling it now, but it might feel it later. Totally. But you might eat another unhealthy thing and you won't feel a difference. For me, once I've done a water fast, if I eat something that's not that healthy, I feel it right away. Amen. Because now it's like the white piece of paper and now you can see the dirt. Versus if it's covered in dirt and you put more dirt on there, you can barely notice the difference. Now the question is, some people are just like, well, I don't want to notice the difference then. I just want to, well, cool. But you might be procrastinating the inevitable because you might, like 40 years from now, that might be what turns into disease and cancer.
Totally. What's also ironic about that is like 100% you can feel it more when you've cleansed. Like I remember when I first started down this holistic health path, I didn't think that I had any health issues prior to that. But the moment that I ate like processed food for the first time after doing what was Whole30 for several months in a row.
Nice.
I felt horrible. I'm like, did I always used to feel like this? But I also think that the more consistent you are with clearing this first and tapping into this, and the more consistently you are cleansing your vessel in a variety of ways,
Yes.
the more that you can handle, despite it being like, oh my God, like I feel that, the more you can handle the situations where you're just like, yeah, I had a pizza and like I can handle it better.
Because you don't want to go so sensitive that you can't function in the world.
Exactly.
So you want to have resilience. I think building resilience, everyone's like, we were joking when I was living out in Malibu area for like 11 years when Fukushima happened or whatever. And everyone's like fear. Everyone's like, I don't know if it was real and what's not.
Right.
Like, I don't know. But everyone's saying, get out of the ocean. And I'm like, I'm going to go in that ocean. I went in there every day. Because I was just like, I grew up on superhero stories like X-Men and everything. And every single one of those superheroes gained superpowers because of radiation or whatever. So like everything they're trying to scare me about to me is like, I'm like, whatever, bring it on. Like, but I think there's the power of the mind.
Totally.
Like the mindset of like embracing something crazy. It might transcend into some crazy superpower in the end,
Yeah,
So,
and there's just a big difference between awareness and fearful. You know what I mean? Like perpetual fear as it pertains to something.
No, because you can get hyper aware and then become a hypochondriac.
Exactly.
So now you're like, oh, I can't eat this, or like there's like only a regular banana and you won't eat it because it's not organic. I'm like, but I just want a banana right now. Sometimes I'm just gonna eat the bloody thing.
Or like this studio, it's in an apartment complex. There's people with Wi-Fi all around here. There's Wi-Fi. There's studio lights. Like I'm not gonna go on your podcast because of the EMF. And it's like. Right. You believe you're that weak that you can't just handle that for a day just to come out here and chill with me on the show?
Yeah.
What?
Right.
You know what I mean?
And at the end of the day, this is where we get back to the calling. Is your calling to go to the woods and be the monk? If that feels like your calling, then do it. But if you're doing it to escape, that was the difference we said earlier.
Totally.
Are we escaping or not? So yeah, you might have the calling to go to the woods and do the thing, and now you're in the ether, and you're like holding the world together along with all the indigenous tribes that we talked about all over the world. But if you're looking to be in the world and to do messaging, then we have to recognize that we're going to be a subject of the things of the world.
Totally.
And so we get to now be with those. And if that means doing more cleanses per year.
Yeah, or like balancing it out by going
or meditating,
putting your
more
bare
often.
feet on the earth more often.
Or go hiking.
Exactly.
Like when I was in California, I'm hiking all the time. I go out to Malibu. There's no streetlights. There's no slight pollution or everything. That's the reason I lived out there, because it's away from LA. It's away from the city. I go there, I'm barefoot, I'm hiking, I'm breathing, I'm meditating. Maybe you step up the resilience with our practices. And that's another thing that definitely to offer to the world is the idea that, we can function in this world and we build resilience by balancing with our practices. Our diet is the body. So if we break things down into 4 different pieces, right? You got the spirit, we get the mind. Let's go in the other order. We go to mind, body, emotion, spirit, right? And that's like Hoffman breaks it down into 4 like that. So do many other cultures. And so each of them sort of need their own practices. They each need their own care. So for the mind, what do we do? Well, there's affirmations, there's meditating, which helps the mind. Meditating also helps the spirit and the emotion, but meditating helps like to slow the mind down, shifting and transforming our language, right? If we're observing our language, our self-talk during the day, which people like the motivational speakers, the Brendan Burchards and the Tony Robbins and Joe Dispenza, it's like thousands of years. Everyone's saying the same thing. It's basically observe your self-talk and look at it. Don't judge yourself. Don't judge the talk. Just ask yourself, is this particular message energizing me and uplifting me, or is it contracting me?
Or Byron Katie, is it true?
Yeah, the work.
Yeah.
Byron Katie, is it true? Is this the thought that's expanding me, or is this contracting me? And if it's contracting you, then you can just flip a couple words, by the way, pretty easily. So that's like the mind practice, right? But then you've got the body practice. Okay, that's when we get into our working out, our yoga, somatic release, getting our body released, diet, fasting. Like I do my fasting once in a while in order to, because the pressure cooker, here's the pressure cooker analogy. We talked about it. I'll expand on it a little bit more now. The pressure cooker analogy is that each aspect of the 4 that I just named has their own little pressure cooker. And if we're not doing if we're not allowing the breathe in, breathe out, the yin, the yang to release, then there's going to be buildup. And once it's like the sediment in the ocean. The ocean's really deep and the sediment starts forming and it goes to the bottom of the ocean. The emotions, they go and they settle at the bottom of the ocean. And if we didn't actually process those while they happened, they're not going anywhere. You're going to have to deal with them at some point later. And it might come up as deeper emotional responses. It might come up in the physical form in disease later, whatever it is. And they've even shown multiple studies of people that have done emotional release work, and suddenly their autoimmune gets better.
Right.
You know, tons of examples where an emotional thing creates a physical thing. So each of the pressure cookers aren't separate, they're related, but I think there are amazing practices that people can learn in each department. So if you're working on the mind stuff, affirmations and all, there's a lot of different lists of things. And the emotion stuff, cathartic release, somatic release, shaking, Hoffman process, fascial maneuvers, human garage, Gary Lineham, all these guys do a lot of deep emotional work that helps with all that kind of stuff. And that's the pressure cooker. Again, if it's building up and it's getting full, we realize it gets, you'll know. If you're listening to your body, you'll know. You'll feel the pain. You'll feel overwhelmed. You'll feel distracted in your mind. The ADD, all these things that we label are really just the pressure cooker.
You know what's interesting too is what people will do if they're not aware of that is they'll find a maladaptive practice from one of the other pressure cookers to just push that down.
Right.
Like, for example, a lot of people will emotionally eat. So they'll find a maladaptive practice of the body to suppress the emotions that need to come up in that pressure cooker.
Yep, exactly. So that's all. And those are all ways of suppressing and not allowing the thing that's trying to express itself, the signal. You know, we talk about these are signals. Symptoms are signals. All these things are signals. If we try to avoid it with a new action, all we've done is suppress it. Even if we procrastinated, we're procrastinating the inevitable. Eventually something's going to come out, something's going to give, and it could be in the cancer form, or it could be in the nervous breakdown form, or it could be in the like panic attack form. Whatever it is, if it's not being allowed out of the pressure cooker, energy's not being created or destroyed. It's going in there. It's staying in there. It's in our mind. It's in our spirit. And so that's why I think just adding these basic practices, it's not like it's not like a bunch of like stress pressure. It's more like, oh, let me just wake up every day and just maybe not grab my phone first. You know, oh my God, what do I got to do? Oh my God, what's going on in the news? No, let me just give it, take a beat, bro. Like, just like take a breath, like just chill out, put the phone a little further away. No big deal. It's not like you have to like change your whole life here. You just like take a breath. And then, because like how you start your day, for me at least, creates the momentum for how the rest of my day is going to go.
Amen.
And if I'm coming in swinging like freaking panic anxious because like I got alerts and like my agent's like, I'm late for the thing, like that's going to like, I don't know, it's not going to be a good day, you know, or it'll be a stressful day. So I think these practices, like I've been trying to like do these for myself and then just like invite, not teach, not preach, invite others that want to, know how to function in this stressful world and how do we deal with politics and how we deal with all these things. Well, start with yourself, let's get into like balancing my day, breathing. I have my own daily practice. I think daily practices are awesome.
What do you do for your practice?
I get up in the morning, I get right into the way I even get out of my bed is very much like just listening to my body and whatever it wants to do, I do. If I need to move in certain ways, I'm doing that. Even right now, I'm listening as we speak live, and I'm like, oh, I'm feeling like going like this, and I start moving. I'm breathing into my body first, and I do that for a little while. I writhe around. If it's 2 minutes, if it's 10 minutes, whenever I feel, and I slide out of the bed like a weird snake, and I eventually get out, and I'm like, and I'm like, move. I do a lot of this kind of stuff when I first wake up. I'm flowing out, and I'm breathing. And then that might lead me right into sitting. And we talked about this earlier, that yoga was meant to lead into meditation. So this is essentially what yoga is breathing into your body, listening to your body, and stretching it and opening things up. So I'm naturally doing that. It's not a yoga practice series necessarily, even though those are great. I'm just doing what my body's asking for. That leads me into like I end up on the ground somewhere, or I end up in the sun, usually within the first 5-10 minutes. I'm out there in the sun and I'm barefoot. And I find myself usually sitting in there and I just close my eyes and I start meditating. If I feel like I want to stand first, I will. If I feel like I need to sit, I will. I'm just listening. All I do is listen, and these things sort of naturally fall into place. It's like the yellow brick road is forming. It's a standing day sometimes. It's a sitting day sometimes. Eventually, I end up sitting. I do stare at the sun a lot. And then eventually I close my eyes when I feel like I've had enough. I just kind of close my eyes and then I just go inside for a bit. And I do a lot of breathing. I do pranayama, I do pastrika, I do kriya breathing. And then I end up, after the breathing's over, I land into this beautiful little meditation landing. It's like a landing. It's like an airplane landed from the breathing, like the yoga led to the breathing and the sun gazing, which then led to the meditation. And the meditation is the get to. But you can drop in much better into the meditation because of the things that led to it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Right? So if you go right to meditation, like, oh my God, 20 minutes, your mind.
That's what I do too much. Like, I've been meditating more than doing Qigong lately, and that's why for me, I like Qigong better
We
because
use Qigong into the meditation.
yes, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and yoga and Qigong are very similar.
Yeah.
They're both,
Well, it's movement.
you know, parting
It's-
wild horse's mane, and you're just, you know, you got your dantian, and you're holding the tree, and then, you know, and it's all like these motions, and then you all of a sudden you just land under the ground. And at the end of the day, all of these things are leading you to the ground, where you're going to sit on the earth and close your eyes and go inside. And once you're inside, there's just observing. And you're just observing, and you're not judging, and you're just dropping a little pebble, and the pebble just kind of spreads. That's a transcendental meditation concept. And you just observe it, and you're not really doing much else. And it's hard to explain what's going on there. But there's a lot of psychic surgery happening in that space, is all I can say. And by doing it more consistently, you'll notice months down the road, like something that might have triggered you just doesn't trigger you anymore. Those are the things where you notice. You're like, is it really working? Well, how about this? Does this same person agitate you the same 3 months from now? Or am I suddenly a little bit slower to react? Am I suddenly now feeling compassion for them instead of making it about me? You know, are these are the things you start noticing that it's working, or just little situations just being different. How you handle them are different. And I noticed that, you know, and I notice when I'm not doing my practice, I'm like, those things start coming back up again.
100%.
You know, it's just not like I've meditated, I'm there. No, it's got to be every day, as much as possible. You know, and if you need to get it in the morning, if you get it in the morning, great. If not, get it in sometime. I'd say
it's a reframe on how important it is. Like when you consider it just as important as sleeping or brushing your teeth or whatever, like drinking water.
Yes.
When you consider it that way,
dietary.
Yeah, exactly.
And non-negotiable.
And non-negotiable.
Yeah. It becomes just like some people, like the fitness people, like I respect them. Like I'm looking to have the discipline that the gym people have, where it's non-negotiable. I'm kind of like when I'm on, I'm off, you know, but non-negotiable for me is my nature time, my sun gazing, my breathing, my meditation. I'm always doing that. I end up naturally getting into exercise and playing sports and hiking and that kind of stuff. I get into the gym, not as consistently as my sun gazing, but it's a different gym. It's a spiritual gym. Yeah. But those are these are the different pressure cookers, right. You know. And I think on the bigger thought of why, you know, as a society, getting into uncomfort. Remember we were talking about meditating earlier, and if you're in Vipassana, you're sitting there, and like 2 days in, it's hurting. Once you get past that uncomfort, you get to euphoria, and that's the thing a lot of people don't get to. They unfortunately, because we've been conditioned as a society, I'm gonna say we, the proverbial we, has been conditioned as a society that discomfort or uncomfort's bad, and that if something's coming up, that means something's wrong. I have a symptom, I have a cough, I have a sneeze, something's wrong. And so I've been inputting. I use the input-output distinction in this case. I've been inputting information, food, toxins, mental toxins, physical toxins. They're all being inputted. Pressure cooker's bound to fill. I'm bound to get a signal at some point. But society says that that's actually, now you're sick. Yeah. And so now that came up, you need to get rid of that quickly. By inputting more? I mean, that's kind of like weird. Let's input more. But the reason it came up is because of all the other inputting that led to that the body's intelligently letting you know it's ready for an output. Yeah. It's ready to purge. It's ready to cleanse. And it might do it on a daily basis. It might be 3 months from now. You might get like a 3 days worth of cleanse where you have a fever and stuff like that. I think it's a beautiful thing when that happens. It rarely happens to me, to be honest. I haven't gotten quote unquote sick in decades. And when it does happen, again, but if it did, when you know, I think during a couple years ago, my body was a little sore one day, and I think someone would have called that COVID if they were labeling things, but I'm not in that matrix, to be honest. But like, I just laid out in the sun all day. What is it? Yeah, exactly. That's what I always think about. Is like, what does an animal do when it gets quote unquote sick? It just lays down and fasts. That's it. And goes in the sun. Exactly. And that's what I just literally just did. I was just like, oh, okay, I'm going to lay over there. And I just did that. And I tuned out for a little while. And then all of a sudden, like, little by little, the body did what it needed to do. And so again, we've been conditioned after all this inputting that when the outputting's happening, to do more inputting. And all it's doing is it's suppressing the expression. And that's why it's weird, because we use our expression for the throat chakra, but the expression's also the cough. They're all the expression. It's all looking to express itself. The body wants to express and let you know something. And if you listen to it and allow it, that's the pressure cooker just It just wants to release the pressure. That's all the body wants to do is release the pressure. And we're not listening to it as a society. I am. I'm doing my best. And when I'm not, I'm looking to do more of it. You know,
when you're not, you have other signals that come up, and it's like, oh wow, what another beautiful reminder.
It's just another opportunity, another reminder. Yeah. And so I think that's a big shift. If we as a team, if Team Alex, Deepak, Team Everybody, Team Way Forward, Team Humanity were to constantly encourage and invite in a very loving and inviting way the idea that nothing's wrong when the body's purging. Because that's what's happening is everyone's like, oh, now I got to take the next medicine.
Totally.
And then they're shoving the next thing back down. And guess what they're doing? You're shoving the thing down that's wanting to get out, and you're adding more toxins in.
Yep.
So now the toxins try to get out. You didn't let them out. All you did was take more toxins to shove in the other toxins. Yep. And it's bound to cumulatively add up to something worse later if you don't do the thing. And so I think this concept of the pressure cooker applies to expression.
I like that.
Emotion.
It makes sense.
Yeah. It applies to the toxins. It also applies to the emotions. It applies to getting your natural voice out, expressing yourself online. It applies to community. It applies to like the spirit, which just wants to it's getting tight in there. The spirit's, being hung on to because we're so attached to permanence, and we're not like just letting go of just being okay with impermanence, right? So those are all things that are trapping, holding. And when we hold our breath, we also hold our thoughts. And there's the pressure cooker. When we let go of our breath, we let go of our thoughts. Everyone out there, if you ever are in the middle of like spacing out, for example, which we all do, it's normal, it's great. Notice also where your breath is. Just ask, like, where is it? It could be held here, could be held here. And just, it's a cool game to play, but just to observe the breath at certain moments and see what it's doing. Not judge it, not try to change it. Just ask yourself, oh, what's my breath doing right now? Oh, I'm holding it again. I let it go. All of a sudden, that series of thoughts also kind of fades too. You get back to nothing every time because the breath and the thoughts are completely directly related. Literally. The breath is the shield. It's also the secret. It's also the glue. It's also the lubrication. It's all the things. So when we like literally master the art of observing the breath and at some points doing controlled breathing exercises, that's separate, right? Observing the breath is just like it's doing its normal thing during the day. It's automatic. We're just watching it. No big deal, not judging it, but we're just noticing, oh, I'm angry. Aha, what kind of breath is that? Oh, I'm sad. What kind of breath is that?
Well, it's like the difference between learning that you are not your thoughts, and then once you learn you're not your thoughts, okay, then let's work with trying to direct.
Because you can still choose your thoughts.
Exactly.
Right. But you're still doing it from a place of not being it.
Yep.
Like I'm moving my body. I have the body.
Just like I move this vessel, or I what did you say again?
Steer
this
versus
vessel.
Navigate.
I'm
versus
steering
navigate.
these thoughts.
Right. You're steering your thoughts. And in fact, you're really at the end of the day, we're navigating.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Navigating.
Yeah. Because no matter what, we're always steering. Yeah. We're always steering. Navigation is intention.
Yes, navigating the thoughts.
Navigation is intention.
Yeah.
So essentially, no matter what, you're automatically steering. When you want to add intention, then you're navigating.
It feels different when you say navigating too. Like it.
Yeah, I'm
trying to like name the quality that I feel in my body when I say navigating something rather than steering something. Steering feels forced.
Right.
Like, and again, yes, you're always steering, but when you navigate, it's like flowy and masterful. Like. Yeah, I'm trying to articulate the quality that I feel in my body when I say navigate something rather than steer.
It feels to me intentional.
Yes. Yeah.
It feels directed.
Yes.
It feels like it has purpose. When I think of navigate, I think I've got a purpose now. I'm navigating. I'm going somewhere. I have a vision of where it's going. I'm going to getting peaceful with myself, right? So as I navigate myself towards that, what does that involve? Oh, that involves watching my thoughts, meditating every day. Cool. That's my goal, for example. If my goal is to find more peace, then I'm going to navigate by doing these actions in a day. If my goal is to get my song in front of millions of people, then I'm going to navigate by first writing an awesome song, and then by communicating with people, and then working on the marketing strategy. Those are the things that you do in the moment to navigate, right? And so if you're an entrepreneur, you're a business person, your goal is to build this big business, then you navigate in the moment by doing these little baby steps along the way.
Yeah, and another thing with that too is like steer seems very much like you're just so focused on the wheel.
What's myopic?
Versus navigate is like I'm aware of all
the world
aspects,
the world,
in order to get there.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And when you're steering, you're myopic.
Yes,
you're nearsighted. You're in there, and you're probably steering amazingly, but you might be steering yourself in circles again. Like I said, like if I'm driving my car, I know that that I'm going to, I was going to here to Georgetown from other part of Austin, from Bee Cave. I was in Spicewood, and I navigated my way here. Now, if I wasn't aware of where I was going relative to myself, I could have ended up in San Antonio, for example, right? And that's the analogy, like that's the reason we navigate,
I love that. I could play with that all day.
Yeah.
I thought of so many other things related to that.
It gives purpose though. Like, the whole idea is it's giving. The navigation is you're zooming out to see where this fits. And then now the moment has purpose once again.
Hey y'all, I'm here with Melissa Kupsch from Remedy Academy of Homeopathy. We are so stoked here at the Way Forward to be partnering with Melissa and Remedy in order to spread the message of homeopathy across the world, and also to partner on the eventual development of healing centers across the United States.
People are pretty quickly coming to realize that frequency is the future of medicine. We are witnessing the great resurgence of homeopathy right now. We're really moving away from that suppressive medical model. Whether it's for eczema, asthma, hormones, fertility, anxiety, depression, trauma, whatever it is, it all starts as energy in the person's field first. If we change our field, we can completely change our life. Our 2-year academy is open worldwide to anyone who wants to become a homeopath. We've got 5 lecturers and we currently have over 500 students enrolled, which is record numbers in our field. A career in homeopathy is amazing for anyone who wants flexibility in their work and who wants to be valuable in creating this new world. We have stay-at-home parents enrolled, we have ex-medical professionals, grandparents signed up who want to learn how to heal their grandchildren and pass on that invaluable knowledge. We even have husband and wife teams. So my husband enrolled in the course with no prior knowledge of health as a background, and he is loving it.
Kylie is also enrolled as well, so my partner is, and she's so stoked to become a homeopath and to be helping to spread this message across the world.
The thing that we hear from so many of our students is, I found my thing. Homeopathy is the key. We harness frequencies from nature and we alter the field of all creations. So if anybody wants to join us or they want to know more about it, they can visit our website.
Yeah, and all that information will be in the show notes. So if you want to learn more about Remedy Academy, also RMDY Collective, also some of the homeopathic products that they have, please just head to the show notes. All of that will be listed there. There's a recent poll that I put out on all my social media channels, and 95% of people responded that they're struggling to find their health and freedom community in person. And don't get me wrong, these platforms, these devices that you're listening to or watching this podcast on right now are great for helping to disseminate information, helping us, find like-minded people to validate us, but they are not a replacement for real in-person community. At the core of our new community platform is a powerful, easy-to-use map helping you to instantly connect with like-hearted, like-minded community, including men and women, farms, schools, practitioners of all types, and other businesses near you. The platform also includes groups, social functions, messaging, and Platinum members also get access to our content library with footage from all of our in-person and virtual events like Confluence and the end of COVID, as well as breathwork sessions, Qigong sessions, member Q&As, and also member community calls. So if you'd like to support this podcast and support our mission of helping people to connect hyper-locally in person, and also obviously support yourself in the process, go to the show notes or just go to thewayforward.com/join. And again, the way forward is spelled thewayforward.com/join to become a member today. Help us build the way forward for mankind. A couple other things related to music that I wanted to touch on if we could. One is like, you talked about using your voice, right? And I just want to play with and just hear your thoughts on subliminally influencing someone to better themselves through musical creation and the act of doing that. Because when I look at Hollywood, I won't say in every single case, I think there's actually a lot of great artists that are still a part of that system, so to speak, like really involved in it, that are putting great subliminal messages. Like Jason Mraz would be a perfect example of that. Like you listen to his music, like, holy shit, dude. Another one, like on the hip hop side of things, and a lot of his songs would be J. Cole. Like I think there's a lot of depth to what he raps
Andre
about.
from Outkast.
Andre from Outkast, perfect. Another
yeah,
perfect
my
example.
mind warps and bends, close to 10, count to 10, meet the twin, Andre Ben, welcome to the lion's den. You know,
Yeah.
he's it's speaking about consciousness.
Yep.
Or like, no drugs or alcohol, so I could get the signal clear as day.
Yes.
I put the Glock away. I got a stronger rep when that never runs out of ammunition, so I'm ready for war. Okay, because his words are his weapons. Like those are conscious lyrics, right there.
Exactly.
You know.
Despite those people, or those are rare people, I would say,
Rare.
in the music industry.
It is.
There's other people who are weaponizing subliminality, if that's a word, and in certain messages that help keep us down, keep us divided, keep us depressed, keep us sort of involved in these thought patterns and in these things that are not in our best interest. So I just want to talk about like the difference between those two things and your creative process to really like, oh, I'm going to use this as a means to communicate a very strong and important message. Because I think like music, comedy, acting, the arts in general are the best way to communicate an important message in a culture. And I think like a lot of the times the freedom space, and you're one of the many examples that are rising up now, and you're one of the best examples of people who are changing that, lacks so much of that art to get into the culture, right? Because that's the best way to get something to stick with culture is the arts.
Yeah, because it's still got to be dope.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's gotta have some swagger.
Yes.
You know, like comedy's gotta be cool.
Yes.
You know, so you can have like this beautiful, like positive messages like, we are love and light. We are love and light. And it's amazing, but it's kind of like a boring song.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know, and then you have these amazing banging hit songs like that are also like subliminal negative messages.
Right.
You know, so for me, I'm looking to make
sometimes overt negative messages too, like overt, but
in your face, in your face negative
yeah.
Yeah.
But you get what I'm saying though, like
yeah. And I guess I think the industry is the industry. I think we can talk about that for days and like what's running the industry.
I think people who listen to this already get it. Like
we get all that. That's why I'm like, we can skip past that into like, well, what are we going to do about it?
Yep.
You know, so what am I going to do about it? Well, I was in the industry. I was in a long time. I did 45 songs for Disney. I did tons of TV film. I did Fox commercials, all that kind of stuff. I never felt compromised doing my work, you know? So it really comes down to like not saying I'm not going to be part of this thing. It's like the same thing we talked about earlier. Like when we get invited to that event, you know, like we question the event, but am I still being myself at that event?
Totally.
So I'm going to be myself, which we talked about for the last however long on this, like about who I am, who you are, like we know who we are. And that's going to, of course, reflect itself in the music.
Yep.
But in the process, it's still got to be dope music.
Yep.
You know, it's got to be good comedy. It's got to be all that kind of stuff. So I see myself as like, I don't like even like, I like the way you even just said like overt versus subliminal. Like I'm not necessarily thinking of myself as putting subliminal messages in my music. That's just what I want to sing about anyway. You know what I mean? Like
you're just focused on being you, man.
I'm focused on like, just like, you know, would I like that song? Would I listen to the song? In other words, outside of the lyrics, does it have a cool guitar line? How's it sound? Is it kind of like Radiohead meets Michael Jackson, Imagine Dragons, which is what I like. And everyone's got their own preference. Mm-hmm. We all have our taste. You know, I have my taste. My taste is we're all conditioned by what we, you know, found and liked and, and resonated with, you know? And so I'm making music that has my taste sound-wise, sonically, and all that kind of stuff. And then each song I'm writing is going to have a different purpose. Mm-hmm. You know, and like I said, when I sang that love song earlier, it came from a place of suffering and disconnection and emotional unavailability. Mm-hmm. That's what that song was about. And it was a song that with the goal to become emotionally available.
Do you feel that you move through things that you are currently dealing with when you bring them out in song?
Yes.
That's so cool.
Yes.
So cool.
So it's a part of my healing experience too.
And then by doing that, other people listen to that song and they move through it as well.
And they get to move through it with me.
So cool.
And it's like it's a vicarious experience for them, or it could be a direct experience for them. Or like in my case, I'm encouraging others to find the artist within, because I really think I'm not trying to be like the show. Yeah. I want this to be a group experience. Like I love like the kirtan, I love the church thing we talked about earlier. Yeah. I want everyone to sing together. Yeah. And I write my songs to be participatory, you know, so it's not subliminal. It's in your face. Together we will rise is not subliminal. You know, like, you know,
it's very much in your face.
It's much in your face, but maybe my other song, King of the Moment, like I'll give you like a second of that one. Yeah. Is a little bit more subliminal. I mean, meaning more subtle. More subtle. It's subtle. It's like, who are you gonna believe in now? Don't you see where it's leading? Haven't you had enough? Pain without reason why. Love sowed its trees and cries. Yeah, we can all see you bleeding for freedom. Don't wanna see another battlefield for a chosen son, another bed of ashes for the missing ones who came to God's corner with a loaded gun. Was it for nothing? And now it's up to you to tame a wild heart in a holy band. And now you hear it singing to your bone. It's not the real thing, let it go. Right?
Amazing.
So that one's like not as in your face, you know, it's more metaphors.
Yes.
You know, and I think every song has a purpose. Like some songs you need to have more metaphors. Some songs you just got to kind of hit them in the face with it. You know, it's like there's a time for, you know, where if it's too complicated, not everyone's going to get it. You know, but there's some stuff like, so some songs are a little bit more niche.
Do you feel that the songs that are more metaphorical is when you have a deep, deep, deep feeling inside of you that you are, I won't say struggling to articulate, but like you can't really describe it well with words, so you have to describe it with story more?
I mean, yeah, and I think some of it's also that there's an art to storytelling,
to expression,
and then, like we said earlier, there's an art to showing and not telling.
Yeah,
you know, and I think I would prefer to have more songs that show, don't tell, and have a few that once in a while do the telling. Like, all you need is love. That's a little more telling.
Yeah.
Right? But we need that one once in a while. But they also had like Sgt. Pepper and all these other songs like Eleanor Rigby where they're telling a story, and it's like you learn from the story.
Yeah, it's just like what you talked about with like the 10 Commandments versus the story, because like when you have the very explicit like all you need is love, it recontextualizes like, oh, that's what all these other songs.
And Imagine's a little more telling. Imagine there's no people. That's a little more telling.
Yeah.
That's not as much of a story metaphor.
Yeah.
But you need that kind of anthem once in a while. Like, heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire. Heal the world, make it a better place. Right? The Michael Jackson, like, that's in your face.
Yeah.
You know, and Bob Marley, like, one love, one heart, let's get together and feel all right. Right? That's pretty much in your face.
Yeah.
But then he gets into the verses and he gets into like the Babylon and the redemption, you know, he does all the thing, you know. So I think there's an art to it. And so that's what I want to bring, that depth to music, to this modern time we're in, to this political arena, to this freedom arena, to the health arena, to the world we're in, whatever, to all the arenas, you know, because like I think that's the calling I feel. Like I resonate with those type of musicians. And there's other musicians like Bon Iver, you know, you familiar with Bon Iver?
Yeah.
Who's a little bit more inward.
I love Bon Iver.
He's not writing like the anthem, but you feel
his music.
But he's inward.
So
you want to go inward with him.
Yes, you do.
Right?
Yep.
That's not necessarily my style.
Yep.
That's fine. I might have a song or two like that, but overall, I'm a little bit more like boisterous of a person. That's my personality. It's my calling. I'm a little bit more talkative, as we know. You know, like I'm all over the place. I got the ADHD or whatever, and I'm like, I zigzag around. I'm saying it in a positive way.
Yeah.
You know, I zigzag around a little bit, so my music's going to reflect that because that's who I am. You know, and so it's just like knowing who I am and not comparing myself with Bon Iver, for example.
Dude, you know what Dr. Edith?
Very much
Yeah,
so.
okay.
Yeah.
This was in the context of blindfold vision demo, because we had
the kids.
7 kids do a demo at Confluence this year. My son's in the course right now. It's incredible watching him learn this. It's activate what's already inside of him.
Yeah.
But what she describes ADHD as, and I don't know if this is hers or if she got it from someone else, but always dialed to higher dimensions.
That's it.
ADHD.
And that's the meaning I'm referring to. It's like we're not staying on like a line of the conversation. We've gone over 9 million topics in one, but life is not a line.
I love dude, this is an example of one of my favorite podcasts, man, because like we touch on everything and always circle back.
We hit it all. We got inputs and outputs, we got steering and we got a lot of cool distinctions we're covering.
Yeah, man.
You know, we go into a song for a second and then we zigzag into a thing, and now we're talking about viruses viruses being poisoned to snake venom. I mean, we can cover all the things. And then,
Right.
you know, like the earth shape, you know, like what's going on with fields and cosmology and the ether and like, you know, let's go to Antarctica. Let's go. I mean, like, it's all the things.
Just had Whitsit on to discuss that one.
Austin.
So that was good. Yeah, Austin.
I'm doing their summit.
I am too. The ether thing that
this,
he's doing
this weekend?
Yeah. I am too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
When's this airing, by the way?
Like a month-ish from now.
Okay, cool. So a couple weeks ago, we did the etheric summit. yeah. No, so that'll be with all. You know, I'll be on that this weekend with Andrew and Kaufman and Amanda and everybody. Cool. I told him I was here. He said, "What's up?"
Awesome.
Yeah, he knew I was coming in.
I love Austin. Yeah, he's a man. Good dude.
But
man, this has been epic conversation, performance. Me getting to experience this. This was amazing, dude. Thank you so much.
So good.
Do you have anything you want to plug in the audience? And we'll throw everything in the show notes.
I'm basically developing the thing, you know. So right now it's just DPAKworld.com, DPAK World. That's like a home base. Team Humanity is the culture I'm creating. You know, but I definitely like want to expand into like education, and I want to have my own podcast too and have you on mine. And I want to have more of these, you know, like I just want to expand the expression of the throat chakra being expanded and all these, and then just lead by example.
You're a great example of that, man. You really are.
Thank you.
And you're a great example of being true to you in the best way. Like it's
in the
cool.
craziest way.
I love it, bro. It's awesome. It's amazing.
Yeah, barefoot sun gazing crazy dude.
I will never forget that.
I'm plant based.
When we're freaking that's a whole other conversation. I love the way you approach that. We'll set that aside.
I mean, I think everyone's got to do what they got to do. Once again,
yeah, exactly.
I mean, you know,
Amen.
There's different paths like qigong versus yoga. I mean,
totally.
like we got, you know, as long as you're listening to your body and following the thing. Like I grow my own food. I've been growing my own food for 15 years, biodynamics, Rudolf Steiner style, and got my compost piles and. You know, we did the dairy cow manure and the alfalfa and the dandelion green and the stinging nettles and made the piles. And, you know, we do all the thing. And then growing sprouts. I eat broccoli sprouts every day. I make my own sauerkraut and pickle everything and for the gut. And I eat my avocados and everything, and I'm full. I get my amino acids and everything.
And you look freaking great, dude.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm an example of a plant-based, healthy, thriving person. So, you know, and I'm most of my friends are in Austin eat steaks, and I go out with them, and I eat.
That's all right.
And I eat what I eat, you know, and we're good. We're all doing what we got to do.
Amen, man.
It's all good.
What I was gonna say is I will never forget that day though when you were staring at the sun for like a minute, like just wide-eyed staring. And here I am. I'm like, man, I sun gaze too, but damn, like right now, noon, I'm like squinting for 2 seconds.
It takes a minute to get to that. I mean, I would say just like for the sun gazers out there, you start out with the sunrise and sunset, but then you start increasing the length.
Yeah.
And then you just ease your way up. And then all of a sudden, like, it's just like, I can, you know, any time of day right now, I don't know what time it is now. It's probably one-ish and easy. We just go pop out, stare at that bloody thing. Because sometimes I'm just hungry. Yeah. I'm just hungry sometimes in the middle of the day. I haven't eaten. I want energy or I want to like.
That's another form of nourishment.
I want to reset. I want some clarity. And I'm generally always barefoot.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much always barefoot on stage. I wear cool fashion because I enjoy expressing myself through the colors and crazy shoes.
I'm the same way. But I grew up loving sneakers, man.
I just love it. I love the expression of fashion and art, but I also just love like getting naked and jumping in the water. And I love being barefoot on stage. And I love just being like Mowgli, the crazy Indian animal guy. You know, I like both.
Love it.
I love all the things.
Yeah. Okay.
STEM regen.
We said we were done, but there was one more thing we wanted to talk about. So after we ended, I forgot Deepak brought up that he got injured also right around the same time that I got injured.
Yeah,
and
a little
I think
after.
It's pretty cool, like sharing the experience of both getting injured and how beautiful the body is in recovering. So if you could share yours, because I've already shared mine a little bit.
Yeah. So basically, you know, I'm really into a lot of different sports. One of my favorite things is Frisbee golf. You know, and just going to the course, 18 holes, is very peaceful. It's a meditative thing for me. I was out there by myself in California in Westlake Village doing a full course. And I was on the last hole, or 16th hole. I was almost done. The basket's really called. And I'm throwing my Frisbee. And I wasn't being present. We talked about this earlier. I was in a rush. Because I needed to get to my dinner on time.
It's crazy because that's exactly what happened with my injury.
That's the only quote-unquote mistakes.
Wow.
They generally happen because does an animal, you know, like I said, we talked about earlier, when the animal's jumping down the thing, they're not making mistakes. No. It's a human mind distracting us from being in our body, perfection, universe, like perfect intuition, instinct, beingness.
Someone brought up to me when it comes
animals.
to sports injuries too, it's most often when someone's not fully present in
when
their
you're
body
not being present.
Yeah. I was an athlete up until like a few years ago. I was a professional athlete actually. And can think to my various injuries, and I'm pretty sure like a lot of the times I struggled mentally in sports, like was really hard on myself. So
Yeah.
I guarantee it was when.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Because we're holding.
Yeah.
And we're being tight. And when you're in tension, you're not fully relaxing into faith and trust.
Yeah.
It's the same metaphor. It's always going to come back to scarcity versus
Yeah.
abundance every single time. Holding versus releasing. You know, like attachment versus allowing. It's
Yeah.
all the same metaphors every time. So here I am just thinking about dinner, which is the future. We talked about it earlier. And I could have been navigating my actions in a way such that I would get to dinner on time. But in that moment, I was thinking about dinner while throwing the Frisbee. So now I'm like, oh, I got to get to dinner on time. So I'm rushing to my Frisbee throw. And I threw the Frisbee and it flew up and it landed at the top of a tree. Stuck at the top of a tree, 40 feet high. I'm talking really, really, really high. And Mowgli Deepak over here is like, now I really got to hurry up. I love this Frisbee. I just ordered it from Sweden. I only used it one time. It just got shipped in. It took a month to get it. I ordered during Christmas. I didn't get it till like end of January. I'm like, oh, my new disc. So there's all those human things, attachment, story. At the end of the day, like it's just a $20-something disc. I could have gotten another one, but there was all this attachment. And so I'm like, oh, I got to get this disc. I have to get this disc down from the tree. And I'm throwing stuff in it. And we're talking 40 feet high, bro. That's like really high. Normally, if it was like 15, 20 feet, you could throw something, a rock up and get it down. I couldn't even throw the rock that high. You know, that's how high it was. So I'm like, I gotta get to my dinner. All right, I'm gonna climb the tree and go get it. So and I'm by myself, by the way. I'm in the middle of the woods. So I climbed up really fast. And I'm like, I'm getting up there and I'm like 25 feet up by then. I'm like really high, 25. And I just grabbed this, I reached over here and I grabbed this dead branch and I just literally died and I literally fell from the tree. It was like a completely dead, and I fell 25 feet to the ground, landed flat on my back, slightly leaning to the right. And I was just like, right? I couldn't breathe. I knocked the wind out of myself. And I was like, I didn't know my status. Am I good? Am I not? Am I dying? Am I going to have internal bleeding? Did I break? I have no idea.
Yeah.
All I know is like, I'm just laying there. And then I'd lost time for like 20 minutes. I don't remember anything. It's a blur.
God,
but
dang.
I found the videos later of the 20 minutes. And apparently I called my parents 3 times during that, don't remember, to say, hey, I'm running late to dinner. Where are we meeting again? Where are we meeting again? And then I called them again 2 minutes later. Where are we meeting again? What time? And I called them again a 3rd time. Where are we meeting again? What time? So they're now worried that I'm calling and sounding weird.
Yeah.
I'm not mentioning anything about being hurt. Apparently, I must have been laying on, I don't know if I must have been laying on the ground. I have no idea. I'm blacked out, bro. I don't remember any of this.
Holy shit.
And then I find videos on my phone of me taking videos of the tree, talking about, I don't know where I am right now. I have a video. It's on my phone. I showed you afterwards.
Holy shit.
I'm like, I don't know where I am right now, but there's my Frisbee right there. And all I was focused on was the Frisbee still.
Oh,
like even in my
goodness.
delirious, blacked out concussion state,
Yeah, for
all
sure.
I was thinking about was getting that Frisbee.
Oh my God.
So it's interesting what the mind does when it's off.
Yeah.
But it was, I guess it was still being a kid. So that's cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, all I know is like I came to and I'm like, whoa, this hurts. Anyway, turns out I have a fractured collarbone, busted all my ribs. They weren't broken, but they're bruised. It's about 6 weeks now. So now I'm like better, but I'm definitely like, you can feel it when we're done the interview. It's kind of sticking up right there. That's just permanent. I have a broken collarbone from I played high school football.
Is it an AC joint separation?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. And so here's the thing. Even that night, I left the park and I just stumbled my way to the car and I drove to dinner still.
Oh my God.
Busted.
Dude.
And I showed up to dinner and saw my parents. I'm like, hey, what's going on? And they're like, are you okay? You called a bunch of times. I was like, I did? And I had no idea. I called them. And I looked at my phone. I saw the call logs. I didn't believe them. They said, no, you called 3 times. Deepak, you called 3 times and we were trying to find out what's going on. And you kept on, you didn't sound like yourself. You know, like you sounded like you kept on saying, you know, and I took a video of them telling me the story because I wanted to remember it later.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like out of it. But, you know, I did that. I took videos of the tree, then got to the car, drove to dinner late, got there, and then I ate. And then they were like, are you okay? I was like, yeah, man, I fell out of a tree. They're like, go to the doctor. And I'm like, I don't believe in the doctor. You know, I'm torn about the doctor thing. Like I want to have our crew. I want to have like our network of our doctors.
Yes.
You know,
totally.
which part of moving to Austin, and also just helping. Also, that could be part of our mission is expanding the medical network to be like trustworthy networks. But that said, I don't have it yet. I have people I know. I have like people in my crew. I can call Mickey. I know I have doctors. I have people in LA I can talk to. But my girl Jen, she was out of town in Argentina. Her father just passed away, so she's out of town. So I'm basically by myself. So I just go home and I was like, I've been injured before. I've fallen before. I've done this before. I knew that I was going to wake up the next day feeling like I got hit by a train. because it's going to be the next day.
That next day, bro.
It's the next day. Because when you're on the day, first day, you're still like a dopamine and adrenaline's kicking in. So, you know, but man, I woke up and it was like I couldn't get out of bed for, you know, a long time. And this is like 4 days before I got a tour.
Oh man.
And I got to play the violin and do all this stuff. And I was like, I'm on tour going to West Palm Beach. I'm coming to Austin to do this Maha event with Del Bigtree, and then I'm doing like this O'Keefe party with James O'Keefe and all this rooftop thing in West Palm Beach. And I'm like injured. So I ended up putting on a sling that my mom had, only for the purpose of like just signaling to people at the airport or people I'm in social situations not to hug me wrong. But I managed to just get up after a couple days, and I just kind of fought through it. And all I did this whole time was fast and meditate and lay there like an animal would. I just listened to my body, and I just laid there, and I just knew that first couple of days is going to be my body. All this stuff's going to go. And I sent all this energy there, and I just visualized stem cells and stuff going there. And that's all I did was just drink a bunch of water and lay. I couldn't get up anyway. You know, it took me like 5 minutes every time to get up, because people out there that know rib injuries, ribs are the worst. Like getting up, it's all core. Yeah. Engaging the core. And it was like, ugh. Even now it still hurts a little bit. But I did nothing. I didn't go to the doctor. I didn't do anything. I just laid there and I just channeled the visualization of healing. I knew that if something was more broken, then I would need to go get checked out. I knew I could tell by feeling it that it was just like a mild fracture. I didn't get an x-ray for like 10 days. Eventually I visited Austin. My friend Micah is out here with friends with Del, Mickey, and everybody. And I just went to his chiropractic clinic over in Lakeway, and he confirmed that everything I already knew, which is that I have a mild fracture. There's nothing really they can do about it. Ribs are going to take time. The bone's going to take time. Just do your best not to make it worse. Yeah. But I just focused on water, fasting pretty much, which is increasing your stem cell regeneration. From, you know, I've done 25 days of just water before. You know, long water fast. So I know that I already know that's a good practice. And then I started just taking like certain things like curcumin and stem regen and all these different things to start increasing blood flow to those areas, and just kind of been letting it heal. So here we are. And that's all I did. You know, and now I'm just kind of just testing the movement a little bit. It hurts to put on my belt, hurts to put on a jacket and shirt still, like reaching back. But I can play violin, I can play guitar, because those are in the front. Yeah. It's just things behind me and reaching back that hurts. Yeah, so, but you continue trusting the body, continue fasting. I'm just listening to the body, and if I need to do something, I need to go somewhere, I do something. Yeah. But that's pretty much it. You know, I'm just sending energy there. I'll do a little bit of like energy like this, and I'll just put my hand there, and I'll just visualize stuff like repairing faster. Yeah. And I did the same thing with my bum. I did a little bit of far infrared. I have this like nice little portable device that I just put on around my ribs, and that just helped kind of move blood flow. But I just did like kind of the basic biohacking stuff, but like kind of like the more natural version of it. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Man, it's crazy the parallels with your story and mine, because mine... I didn't do ice either, by the way. Dude, no ice. So I did ice, no ice, nothing, for the very first like hour. Yeah. And then I had the thought of like, why would I ice knowing that inflammation is healing? Right. And so then I stopped all that and was like, okay, I'm not going to ice. That doesn't make any sense. And not even the first hour. I'm talking like within the first, like right when I got home, I was like, okay, rest, ice, compress, elevate. That was like naturally what kicked in, the typical, because I grew up as an athlete, right? Yes. And that's what you're always told to do. So I started to do that. And then I thought about it. I'm like, no, that doesn't make any sense. I know inflammation to be a healing response. Why would I want to stop the healing response? Correct. So I immediately threw the ice pack out. Kylie kept offering it to me. I was like, no, I don't want any more. Yeah, same. People try to give me ice. I just wanted to try not doing it. Yeah, and for me, it was instantly like getting curious on, okay, like this conflict in my mind of this is what I was told as an athlete. This is what I always did with injuries, but this is what I know inflammation to be. So then I didn't ice. And so my whole injury happened also completely not present in my body. Was getting frustrated during a workout because I really needed to move some energy before I had to go interview Austin Woodson, actually. Nice. That's funny. And my daughter oftentimes comes out while I'm working out, and she was sort of in one of these moods that she gets in where she's very strong-willed, where I'm like, hey, can you please go inside? And then she doubles down. She's like, no. And I'm like, all right, I can't get my workout done. Finally convinced her to go inside. Kylie's laying in bed with our baby, and is still asleep, I think. And then I'm like, all right, I only have a few more minutes. I need to move energy. I'm just going to go on a run, right? Yeah, exactly. It's just the rushing thing. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go on a run. So I'm halfway through this run, and then it occurs to me, oh my goodness, I left my garage door open. My daughter could run outside. I didn't let Kylie know I was on a run. I need to get home faster. So I start sprinting. Yeah. I'm so in my head, just ruminating on my thoughts. Yeah.
step on a rock that I don't see while I'm sprinting.
Roll it,
dude.
I've had some big ones.
Instantly swells up. And so I had broken my right ankle when I was in 8th grade, and this swelled up to the same degree. So I thought it was fractured. I hobbled home like a quarter mile, start crying, not because of the pain, because I'm so frustrated.
Well, it's also to release.
Yeah, to release, but also because I'm so frustrated because I have to MC Confluence in 10 days. I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, I have to be on stage for 5 days in a row. Like, how am I going to get through this?
Yeah.
And I did essentially the same exact thing you did. So again, had the instance of, okay, like icing. No, that doesn't make sense. So didn't ice. Because it swelled up so much and I related it back to my right ankle, I was like, okay, I should probably go get it x-rayed because I can't put any weight on it right now.
Yeah.
Went to get it x-rayed, confirmed, ruled out a fracture. Okay, thank good. Okay,
great.
Okay, awesome.
Which helps the mind not have to deal with that anymore.
Exactly. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I did it 10 days into mine.
Yeah.
Just because I didn't have anyone local, but I had a feeling. But I still wanted to at least have that thought handled later, that it wasn't worse.
And I didn't think that I fractured it, but I had the lingering like, oh, well,
what
if it's, exactly.
Just
and I have
case.
to be on stage. And if it's a fracture, that's a different scenario.
We got to treat it differently.
Exactly. And so with this, I was like, okay, now that I've realized it's not a fracture, I'm going to do this thing called the drawer test, which is a test to see if your ATF ligament has fully ruptured. Did that. Didn't look like it was fully ruptured, but my ankle's literally like purple from toe to shin at this point, super swollen. What do? Okay, I'm going to rest. I'm not going to ice. I'm going to rest to the degree that like my dog would when it gets injured, but I'm still going to move my ankle. What I mean by rest is I'm not going to completely immobilize it.
Right.
I started doing band exercises, dude.
Nice.
And the moment, it was so crazy. The moment that I started doing these band exercises on day 2 or 3, I could instantly walk and put pressure on my ankle.
Yep.
I was like, what the hell? And I'm like, it makes sense. I'm drawing more blood to that area. I'm not, what's the word for it? Atrophying the other muscles, ligaments, and tendons around it.
That's why I've been doing it the whole time. Like, I'm just like, oh, if the bone's broken, you don't want to mess up the bone, but I still want to work the areas or the muscles around it.
Exactly.
So I'm working this. I was doing this kind of like up here, and I'm just feeling like where I can go with it.
Yeah.
And just kind of keeping things moving,
Yeah, because like the old way of immobilizing something for some time, like, yes, that allows that area to heal, but you're also atrophying everything else around it, which is going to double your time to getting back to where
and
you
you
were.
certainly can rebuild. And I'm not 100% like anti-ice now suddenly. I just have this last few rounds, I'm not doing it, and I'm not noticing some negative. I'm actually noticing better results.
Same. Quicker results.
Yeah, quicker results.
Yeah.
I'm healing pretty quick over here.
And I think ice, and I'm still trying to figure this out because I think ice still has its
a
place.
purpose. Yeah, I think it does.
It does.
So I'm not like absolute on any of this stuff.
Yeah.
I'm still in discovery, even on this.
Same.
This is just like we're just discovering it by experimenting on our own selves.
Totally.
To have a direct personal experience.
Yeah, totally. And I think like when you do contrast therapy, like ice hot, like that like
the Korean
constricts
style.
the blood vessels, then opens them up, then constricts.
Yeah, so that's vasodilation, vasoconstriction.
Exactly.
Right. So you're increasing blood flow and then contracting, and then you're actually, so that can help it.
Yeah, you're like locking in the blood that has gotten.
So I'm into that. Like I did eventually. I think maybe a week into it, once I got to Austin, I went straight to the spa here.
Yep.
And I did sauna and cold plunge, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that just got things moving.
Yeah, and it's also a different intention, right? Because like the intention with icing in an acute situation is typically like whether you're saying it or not, the intention is to stop the inflammation process.
It's for stopping versus allowing.
Exactly.
We're applying the same concept of movement and encouraging and stimulating.
Yep.
Right. Versus contraction.
It was pretty cool on like day 4 or 5 for me. I posted a video of myself jumping up and down on my Instagram, and I had so many physical therapists that were like following along with what I was doing that are, interested in what I talk about, but still have that physical therapy conditioning. Message me like, this is literally shocking to me to see this. Like this should not be possible according to what I've learned. I'm like,
exactly.
It's the power of the human body, man, and trusting the healing response.
I was on stage a week after falling out of a tree with a broken collarbone, literally ripping violin solos at James O'Keefe's party.
So cool.
I was insane. And like I literally like walked in with a sling and then took it off to play and then put it back on.
Amazing.
So.
Yeah.
But hey. We're reinventing things, And again, we're actually not. We're remembering. We're remembering what animals do.
Exactly.
Because that's why I get back to like, what's the thing in the way of being an animal is just the mind. And that's the blessing of the human is the mind. But it's also the curse that blocks us from the animal that we also are.
Yes.
Because we're an animal inside of all this. And the animal, so if we took the best of both worlds, we get the animal intuition and super Jedi powers with the mind's ability to calculate and create and innovate.
Yes.
You got a winning combination right there.
Yes.
That's the way.
Beautiful.
Anyway, rock on.
Dude, thank you so much. That was a helpful addition.
Yeah, man.
You are a lover of all things, and you are a pro in many things, and I appreciate you for being here, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. But yeah, Deepak World, I'm gonna be launching all the things soon.
Cool.
So we'll just collab on it. You know, I'll promote your stuff, and we'll put Way Forward on my site too. You know, and anything that's cool. I got She Legit. We got, you know, let's just help everybody. We're just here to help abundantly.
Epic,
you know,
man.
that's it.
Thank you, bro, for being here.
Om Namo Narayana Namaste.